Welcome back to Dynasty Dads. Today we are reviewing Dad's 33 startup. This one ended, was it 3 weeks ago? So a lot's changed since the draft has ended, but it took us some time to get this one done because I've been absolutely slammed at work. I had to skip this past week, which is when we were going to do it, but here we are now. Better late than never. But
Yeah.
for that, we got some news to get into. Nothing crazy, just like AJ Brown traded from the Eagles to the Patriots. What was it for a first and a fifth? I think it was a first and a fifth. Or first and a third.
Yeah. First in 2028 and a fifth rounder in 27, I believe. I think that's what it
that
was.
sounds
Because
right.
it wasn't a first this coming season, it was the year after.
Yeah, which is crazy because the Eagles gave up a first and a third to get AJ Brown. So they got, what was it, 4 years out of a great player, and then only lost 2 rounds value on the second pick that was in the trade. They still got a first back. Absolutely wild. Howie
Yep.
Roseman, probably the best GM in the league. He's a wizard. But there's a lot that's got to be talked about with this trade, with the Eagles, with the Patriots. Let's start with the Patriots, his new team. Does this make Drake May firmly your QB2 in Dynasty, or is he your QB1?
Value-wise, the QB2, if you try and trade him, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. I've never gotten close to the value I think the 102 would get.
That's fair.
So as much as I love the idea and would try and do it, I have before. I haven't found it hasn't happened. People just aren't willing to trade up to that value.
Would you take like Jane Daniels or Caleb in a first?
Oh, easy.
Okay.
And I don't see anyone doing it. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, there's a few fans out there that are very active in the chats that might pay it.
Gus, I have Drake in like 12 leagues, and I sent out a bunch of offers for him. I have Drake in 11 leagues. One of them, I was able to make a deal that was more a bunch of pieces plus like a Kyler to get Drake.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I tiered down to Kyler, but got a running back, a decent receiver, and like not a first, but 2 seconds, something like that. That with running back, but it was a running back. Was it Josh Jacobs before the news? It was something like that. Anyway, the value is not as much as the 102 should be.
Yeah, that's fair. Which he did go 102 in this draft. It was in your slot, but you had traded out of that slot, so of course.
Cool. That makes sense.
But for that offense now it's AJ Brown, you got Dobbs and Drake May as the 3, in the passing game. As far as what he did last year, it was, a lot of people call it a cupcake schedule, and it kind of was.
It was.
But if he can keep the same type of efficiency that he had, and he adds in AJ Brown, another year in the system, I don't see why he couldn't finish still as a top 6 QB this year in fantasy. So it's not like, I don't think people are gonna really bump him down that much. Now that there's AJ Brown, because I was starting to see May go like mid to late first in startups. So now he's back pretty much at the top of the first. So I don't think he's going to fall until after the season, after it doesn't go well. But if he keeps the same pace that he was on this past year, he should stay in this range for a long time. He's no Josh Allen, who's 30, 31 at this point, the best fantasy QB of all time, But it's crazy to still see Josh Allen still at the top after all these years.
Well, because he keeps repeating. But the only problem and the real question is, does May rush as much, and does the TD regression hit him a little bit? I think he was throwing it at a pretty high clip. The schedule gets harder. Defenses get better. We saw in the Super Bowl how bad the offensive line looked with some good pass rush. Here's the thing. He's still super young, has better weapons on an offense that he knows and has been running. So you're not really going to lose value with him. The problem is, I'm just saying you can't really get the value he's probably worth. And if you have him valued him there, you're not getting the big trade down. Like anyone that has Caleb, let me just say, anyone that has Caleb or Jaden Daniels or even Joe Burrow is probably not going to add a first to them to go up to May.
what about Trevor Lawrence or like Dart or Nix in that range?
I think people
Would
would
you
add
rather do
first to
those?
Knicks
Okay.
because
Yeah.
there's a lot of question marks, the ankle, et cetera. I think Trevor Lawrence probably so. But now you're getting these guys are going mid third in startup. So you're taking the 102 and just a first and getting a mid third back.
I mean,
That
someone just sent away a first round pick for a sixth and a seventh. So like I've seen
Hey,
crazier
we're not
shit
talking about that
today.
here. That doesn't even exist on this one. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's in two more startup uh,
we got plenty of
reviews,
time
but
before
that
that
was
happens.
I would like to forget that one. But yeah, I mean, for the Patriots, this is great. I think it it gives May a solid one. You know, AJ Brown, I don't think has fallen off at all. Like I was saying it all last year and this year. Like I still think he is a very talented player. But with his age, he's going to start to lose value, and now you see him going, you know, in the fifth, sixth, seventh round. So, um, it's great for the Patriots. Now, for the Eagles, if you were high on Mekhi Lemon like myself, you're thrilled because now he's not the third, he's the two. Hopefully the two, not behind Dallas Goddard. But Devonta Smith really gets a bump. Now he can be the one for the team, and you have a first round wide receiver in Mekhi Lemon who can step in and be on the field pretty much every single play. So if you took him, you know, over Jordan Tyson like I did in one spot, you know,
Right.
I think that's my only share of him because I was more of like the 5-6 on a lot of drafts if I wasn't very high. But he's got a shot now to be on the field for every snap. Do you think this hurt? Does it hurts losing AJ Brown? And to
Of
say
course,
that
a little bit it does, but it, let's be honest. So much it hurts is the idea that at the 1 yard line, Saquon hasn't had a rushing attempt from the 1 yard line or a rushing touchdown from the 1 yard line in like 20 games. Last year he had zero. It's all Hurts in the tush push, and it's still part of what they do, and they still do it, and it still works. And so the idea that he'll get an extra 12 touchdowns and some extra yardage because of that is ridiculous. So does it hurt him? It has to a little bit. But does it also mean, hey, the offense took a step back last year and Hurts was still solid enough for fantasy?
yeah, for Hurts, I mean, not his overall fantasy value. I don't think he's going to take a hit, but his passing yardage will more than likely come down. He's been around that 3,000 to 3,500 range for most of the past few years. I'd still probably see him around that 3,000 yard mark with the wide receivers that he has. So if he's going to rush in 15 to 20, you know, and then
Yeah,
throw like another 20, then it's just fine.
exactly. I mean, he's never had the biggest passing yardage. It'll be kind of probably the same. Uh, I will say this. There was once or like 3 times a game, he just loved throwing a 40-yard bomb down the sideline to AJ. That's no longer there because I don't think Smith is that player and Mackay is not. So he might miss, let's say that's a 40-yard bomb, sometimes a touchdown, sometimes not. But he'll catch some of the underneath stuff and still try and throw it to somebody. Let's say he loses a little yardage, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns, but otherwise, I don't think it's that much different because his passing yardage total was never that high.
Yeah, it's true. All right. I think it's enough on AJ Brown. I think everyone saw this trade gonna happen for pretty much the whole offseason. So now that's happened, we can finally just put it behind us and move forward.
Yep.
You know, as far as AJ Brown, as far as his value, do you think he should rise in value at all?
I, I think he should a little bit. The problem is now he's getting to that older man age. And so is he the 2 years ago, 3 years ago Mike Evans, where his value started dropping because he was older? People were worried about the physical traits. And then he comes out with a better passing QB, in my opinion, and drops, 10, 50, and 8, right? could that be on the line? And I'm guessing that's probably pretty close. Vegas, I haven't looked at the Vegas line, but I'm guessing it's around there. So I would think his
If
value should take a little bump up.
if you're trying to compete this year, would you trade a first round pick for him? Like you see yourself as a top 3-4 team, and you need some
And
help in that room.
what you're saying is, let's say the 109 to 112 of 2027. The answer is
Yeah,
yes, you should be. If you need wide receiver help, I think he could immediately fill in truly as like a wide receiver 2 for you.
yeah, I agree. All right, not to spend too much time on that, but also this as well. But Miles Garrett traded to the Rams. That defense just got a whole lot better. Talks about Aaron Donald maybe coming back, which would be nasty. I would be shocked if they are not the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. Just with that team, I don't think it affects the offense that much because they already had a pretty good defense and they were still having to put up a bunch of points. Stafford probably will not repeat as the MVP, but he'll still be, top 12 for fantasy, which is where you kind of expect him to be. He's not super expensive, but so if you're a contender, you could probably send a second round pick for him and have a QB1 for the year. So I don't think it affects the offense that much, but it's just the biggest trade of the offseason. So just
You really think you can give
kind of
up
got
a
to talk about
second
it.
and get Stafford?
Would you give up a first? I wouldn't.
That's the problem. Is like I don't think teams that have him are willing to accept a second, but those that want him won't give up a first, right? Like I almost think he's almost an untradeable asset. I think the
Yeah.
team that's trying to get rid of him and tank is going to have to wait in season for an injury for a playoff team, and then I, he's the perfect guy in my opinion that you try and do a 1-2 swap with a contender, right?
See, I still don't think you'll be able to get a first mid-season. Like you're looking at this player that it's going to be 1 to 2 more years for a 30. I think he's 35 years old. Like, are you really going to send a first round pick? I mean, I would rather send a third for Jacoby Brissett if he's still the starter, or someone of that caliber that you know like if you lose Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels and your team is stacked and you have a solid QB3 already, let's say it's I don't know, Baker Mayfield's your 3 and you lose those top 2 guys. Like and your team is stacked. Like then I could see someone trading away a first to stay in the hunt for the playoffs, and that's the kind of deal that you're kind of hoping to get. But I'd be shocked if I see him go for a first, especially at this time of year. You would have to wait for midseason when a team is trying to, play for it next year and they aren't in it and they have Stafford. And I would start at a second. Look, I will give you a second, and if you want like a third, like on top of it, sure. But I don't.
What about a
It's
27
hard.
second and 28 second? That way
Can
you
I
keep your
get
first. You know
a?
what I'm saying?
Can I get like a QJ with it, or like a Devonte Adams with it,
No,
or
why
like
would
a?
you giving up a second? You already said they're worth a second. What if someone says, I'll give you a 28 third back? In other words, 2 seconds for Stafford and a third.
Depends on how bad I need Stafford. Sure, I could see it happening. I just saw a first go for a 6 and 7, so like it's not it's not crazy, but it's hard to stomach sending away high value assets for an asset that that's not going to be worth much in a year. You are making that trade off of I want to go win now, which I gave up a first for Justin Fields at the start of last year after he started off ridiculously hot and it bit me in the ass. So I would much rather have the Stafford for 2 seconds than the Justin Fields for a first at this point. So
Well,
it's
of course,
it's
but
it's not crazy.
what I'm getting at, and one of the big issues, and you understand this, is the idea that you're trading right now. What you're doing is because Stafford got the extension, he's no longer considered a 1-year starter, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're taking a 2-year starter. And in Dynasty, a 2-year quarterback starter, like Stafford now, if you think he's truly a 2-year starter, you're taking him above Bryce Young. Doesn't matter the age. like Stafford's better than that. Bryce Young might not be the starter after this year, and so it really comes down to what you believe. And no, probably no one's trading a first for Bryce Young either, but it's that idea of that, I guess, third QB2 if you need it that can fill in your lineup and win you a title. I mean, he won titles last year. We know
Yeah.
that. So
All right. All right. Enough on Stafford. Next big piece of news, Christian Watson, 4-year deal, 110 mil with 31 mil guaranteed. So it's a very team friendly deal. And also he gets the bag up front. It gives him a lot of flexibility to, if he gets hurt again or if he doesn't perform, they can easily walk away from the deal. But if he balls out, then there's a lot of money on the table for him to be made. So it works out for both, and it's basically a bet on his health. So I mean, he did get Dobbs money, but but he he got enough money to where that he's going to be a Packer for at least another 2 years.
is that not Dobbs' money?
Dobbs got more guaranteed.
But it was shorter contract, right? It was only 3 years, I thought.
I thought it was 4 years.
I could be wrong. But
Yeah, but
anyway, I think it's great for the fantasy community. It means he should at least be here for 3 years, right? The last year is always question mark. It's all about health for him, but it does give the guarantee he'll be playing with Jordan Love, who loves him. So
yeah,
that idea is a huge positive. I think his value goes up from this. I know you're the Packers fan, so I can't ask you. But to me, as the non-Packers fan, this shows me enough guaranteed and enough money to say they want him to be their one. It also shows Matthew Golden's a piece of shit.
I don't think so.
That's all I need
But
to say. We can move on. Let's go on to your next one because that one's real important.
yeah, Darnell Washington, 4-year, 42 mil. He's not going to do a whole lot for fantasy, but he's gotten better every single year that he's played. He's been more involved. Um, you know, who's their QB next year? He's going to be there. So someone's going to be throwing the ball. And does this staff really want to get him more involved than he has in the past year to pay a guy like this after you just took over? I mean, I feel like it says something about him. I don't think that he's going to be great for fantasy. Hopefully he's your tight end 3 or 4 on your team, not your 1 or your 2, because then you're probably not going to be doing a whole lot this year. But it's just something to note. He's a 6th
They
offensive
paid
lineman.
a blocking tight end 10.5 a year, where
Hell
other
yeah.
teams were taking second round blocking tight ends in rookie drafts. So it makes sense. Good for them. He performed well enough to show him that he can block. Congratulations. Drake London signed a 4-year, $141 million deal, 100 mil guaranteed. I think that's how much it was, correct?
Yep.
So clearly, this shows they wanted to get in front of the other wide receivers of the same year that are going to get paid stupid amount of money, right? That's what it showed me. It's like, let's get in front of it. Let's be the first one to show we're willing to do it. We're willing to step up. And what works well for them is they're not paying their quarterbacks, so it's cheap and easy, right? I guess they're
Yeah.
still playing Kirk Cousins, but it means they got in front of some of the other stupid big deals that are going to be coming out soon, like George Pickens and who else was in that class? I'm trying to remember, like Jameson Williams. Does he still need to get paid? I'm trying to remember if he has a contract. Like some of these guys are now in the realm of when and how do they get paid? Is Garrett Wilson in that? Yes, I think so too. So this is going to be the interesting phase of everything happening now. Is London the
Yeah.
first, and does everyone want at least as much as he does, or they want more?
I mean, everyone's going to want more, but I think the next 2 huge contracts are going to be Bijan and Gibbs.
You think, like, doesn't Garrett Wilson need to be paid, or did he get his contract last year?
He already got paid.
He already got paid. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But great for Drake London. He's a player that I've loved ever since he's come into the league. He was my wide receiver 1 that year, and I stuck to it since. And he's been great. And hopefully Tua is the QB. I want it to be Tua, and I know that sounds crazy that you would hope for Tua, but I think Tua can get back to some of the stuff that he was doing was it 2 years ago, and not this point where he was, a top QB in the league as far as yardage and having Pitts and having London and having Bijan, you've got some very talented weapons. Just get the fucking ball in their hands. That's all you gotta do. Don't throw it to the other team and stay off the floor because I I don't think I want to see much more of Penix. I don't know. That's just me.
Uh,
But I don't want to see a whole lot more Tua, but I think Tua's got the higher ceiling for
Penix
Drew
doesn't
McDuffie.
run. Penix needs an O line to operate. Washington, when he played there, had one of the best O lines, and now he's got injuries. I don't think he's a difference maker as a passer, so he's kind of a meh quarterback, which means with the injuries, with everything, do you really think Atlanta's going to pay him a big a big 50 mil a year contract or more? And I don't think they are. So to me,
No.
who cares who they start? Hopefully it's Tua, and if they like Tua, they can sign him to a 3-year deal, 100 mil, kind of like a Baker. But if not, I just don't see them paying Penix. And if they don't want to pay him, why does it matter who they start?
Yeah. All right. Giants did a little bit of signing as well. They signed Juju and OBJ. I don't think they're going to mean a whole lot for fantasy. I think it more says about Neighbors, which I think most people at this point think he's going to at least start on the pup, miss at least 4 games. There was that clip of him trying to run at that softball game. It just didn't look very good. But I mean, for this passing offense, who do you want to start the year? Which passing option?
I think it's likely. I think Tyrone Tracy's going to catch a lot more balls early than we think. I think Theo Johnson actually has a chance. And then they picked up Mooney, right? Am I wrong with that? Didn't
They have Mooney. They drafted, who's it? Malachi
Fields, who will take some time. He could be kind of a sacrificial X in the place of Neighbors while he's hurt. I just feel they're going to try their best to work their way around it and run the ball and try and play better defense. But, the hardball way.
Scatterboo is going to be a top 5 back to start the year.
I would be very excited to have Scatterboo, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that league this past year where a guy threw him up on the block after he got hurt and he was asking for a second. And I was the first one to send him a second. Everyone got pissed. I was like, yeah, I'll throw you a second. And this class, and that second was like a 205, 206, I think. So somewhere in that range. Yeah, I will definitely take Scat. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you put this on here, so I'll let you talk about this.
The last piece of news I think is important. It's Chris Rodriguez, the 1A, 1B running back in Jacksonville now, has a broken foot, and I think had surgery, and they're talking about he'll be back in time for camp. He's missing reps right now. The Tootin hype could be off the chain. I mean, would you trade a first for Tootin right now? And if you have Tootin, I don't know if people are giving up a random first for him. I think they believe he's the starter and is that good. And if someone said, here's a 27 first for Bayshell Tootin's off my team. Where are you at?
I'm the exact same. And it's because I don't think Tootin is a long-term answer. I think it's more of like a Marks. He'll get his one shot. His Pierce, he'll get his 1 year. Or another back for the Jaguars was that 4 or 5 years ago. Now at this point, actually, I think it was just before. I think it was like 5 or 6 years. James Robinson.
James Robinson. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll have a fine year, but to send a 27 first for a back for 1 year that doesn't have any long-term value. If he is absolutely killing it and he's a top 10 back, sure, you have a case, but I don't think he's going to be that high. I know we've talked a lot this offseason about the Jags. I think a lot of it is going to go through the passing game. They have a lot of options to pass, and Tootin will be one of those options. I just don't think I don't think he's good enough to be in that top tier of backs for just a redraft,
I agree. I'm with you. I mean, the real question is, someone said, here's a 27 second and a 27 third. Are you trading him for that?
If I'm not trying to compete this year, yes. If I am, then I probably at some point throughout the year, I'll be trying to trade a second for a back. So I might as well just hold on. who's
Yeah.
probably going to be an RB2. So,
No, I 100% agree with you there, Gus.
all right. You want to get into the startup?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get in there so we can talk about the
All
team.
right.
Good, some bad.
All right. Some of the league settings, if you're in any of the leagues, you know that at the very beginning we vote on a bunch of stuff just to customize the league to what the people in the league want the league to be. There's a set deal. It's super flex. We try to start with tight end premium, and then you can vote on how much. I have yet to see anyone vote for 0 point tight end premium. That's the vote that I always pick, just so I can see the rest of the poll, because if I'm not in the league, I'm not voting on the polls, but I have to vote on the poll to see the results. So I always click that one just to see what everyone else picked. And this one, they picked 1 point tight end premium, so it's the 1 point per PPR, and then the 1 point tight end bonus on top of it. The taxis, it's 10 slots. You can add rookies, and they can stay for 2 years. And the taxis open year round. I know you've got a problem with that. You've made that pretty well known. I get what you're saying, that it should just be extra bench spots then,
Yeah.
but it's bench spots with a condition attached to it. You have to be young. You can't stick Aaron Rodgers in your taxi. So it's just a little bit more flexibility. I get why you wouldn't want it to be open year round, but you can still pull players from it even if it's locked week one. 5 IR slots. It's a start 10. First, second, and third get paid, and yes to league median, and no to a trade the deadline. I've seen this more and more common over the past 3 years. It makes for some wild playoff runs where you get down to 4 teams or 2 teams, and people are trying to trade to get the most value to go into that last week or two. So it just makes it better for everyone, because people that aren't in it no more can get a head start onto the offseason, and people that are still trying to win championship can add more value to try and win. So it just opens it up more. I know there's some people that don't like it, but that's why we vote. All right. Right out the gate, team one. They drafted the whole startup, and then as soon as the start was over, he dipped. He said he had some life problems come up. So Miles took over that team. Let me go ahead and share the screen here so you can see the draft. All right. So you see that it says team one. There's not a player there because after he left, it took him out of the draft board, and I can't put Miles in there because the draft is done. But thankfully for this draft, they drafted pretty much straight down the board. They did make one trade where they got Kirk Cousins and Brenton Strange. You can see here they had the little arrow next to their little shit down there, but there's no name, just because that's the player that he's got. So for this first team, QBs are Josh Allen, Mahomes, Fields, and Howard. Backs, he went fucking heavy at backs right after those 2 QBs. He went CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, Kyron, Derrick Henry. 2 in the 8th, Caleb Johnson, Adam Randall, James Conner, and Vidal. Wide receivers, Michael Wilson, a.k.a. Jerry Rice, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton, Pittman, Myers, Skylar Bell, Caleb Douglas, and Thomas. And for tight ends, Goddard, Schultz, and Ferguson. How about you go first? What's your favorite pick?
Yeah, it's very interesting because he went quarterback, 6 running backs, 5 wide receivers before he took anything else, which is, it's a bold strategy, and I understand. And if you're competing now, these older running backs can help you win right away because they're the ones that you can plug into a lineup, and you're also keeping them away from other players. But my favorite pick came a little later, just looking at values. It was Michael Pittman, I think, at the 1201, because at this point, you needed some receivers that could hit your lineup with the likes of McCaffrey, Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, and Derrick Henry. And so you just need guys that'll hit the lineup that you can probably trust. And the idea, you got Michael Pittman at the 12-1 as your wide receiver 4, maybe 3. And before that, you took Cortland Sutton and Devontae Adams and Michael Wilson. it means you have the age and the ability to win this league right away. You know, I mean, let's be realistic. In 2028, this team is fishing for the number one pick. I don't even know if it's close, but for this year and next year, this getting Pittman, Sutton, Demonte Adams, but especially Pittman, to me, it's not youthful. It's just value that you can start in a lineup right now in a wide receiver 3 spot. And I really like that. You know, some of these other picks that he made is questionable, but for the team he started with and how after was at the 312, as soon as you take Christian McCaffrey at the 312, you're playing for the now, you're not playing for the future.
Yep.
And what is crazy, he still has all of his first and stuff. So in season, if an injury happens or if he decides, hey, I'm going for it and he needs to go trade for a wide receiver or a tight end, which it really looks like is where he'll need to get some of his value, he's got the ammunition and picks to go do. Who's that ended up being? Who knows? But at least he's got the opportunity to make that happen. But my favorite pick was Pittman, just based on choosing, I guess, the values. What about you,
Yeah,
Gus?
and just to speak on his picks real quick, he doesn't have his 27 second or third, but he gained a third in the draft when he made that one trade. So he's got a first, third, and fourth next year, and then all the rest of his picks are intact. Miles got 2 free years in this one, so 26 and 27 are free. If I was him, I would ride this till the wheels fall off, take advantage of those 2 free years, and go try to win some money now to help pay for your years where you're going to be tearing it all down. My favorite pick, I picked a range. It was 9 through 13, which were his 5 first wide receivers. It's because after you go the first 8 rounds and not take a wide receiver, to get 5 in a row that are going to be in your lineup pretty much as often as you need him. He's probably only going to be starting 3, even though we have 2 flex spots. He's probably going to be filling those with the other backs that he has. But to grab that 5 pack of wide receivers, to me, that's the best case that he could have had with the start that he had. So to save his draft that way and still be able to contend this year, I think it was a great move for him. I would not have went 6 straight backs in round 2 through 8, but to each their own. But for the way that he did it, it's going to be a very good team for at least this year, maybe next year, as long as nothing crazy happens to CMC and Saquon and the King. So,
Agreed.
the pick I hated was that started this whole deal was CMC at 312. I think that's a little high. Your first 4 or 5 picks in a startup, like you are setting the foundation of your next 4 or 5 years. That's the goal. So his first 2 picks, Josh Allen, Mahomes, you're good for the next 3-4 years. Taking CMC, I think he goes a bit later than this in most other startups. He's probably closer to the 4th. This is probably fine. It's probably fine, but when you do this and then draft 5 more backs that are pretty close to him in age, like I just, you could have went another wide receiver. Oh, you could have went your wide receiver 1 or another QB and still gotten JT, Barkley, Kyron, and Henry. CMC is an outlier type of player. We don't know if he's going to last another 2-3 years or if it's going to be 1 year and then the wheels fall off. But to draft a RB that's, I believe he's 30 now, in the third round, to me, that just seems insane. I could never pull the trigger like that. I mean, if I was going to go high at back in a startup, it would be someone that's younger, that I have a longer runway with, that I believe in the talent, like a Hampton or an Achan or someone of that sort. They're obviously not in the third round, but like a Brees Hall or a Judkins or or a Walker or Travion. If I was going to draft a back high, it would be one of those guys in this range. So to each their own, but I just can't stomach taking CMC at the 312.
My biggest issue is you're declaring you're going for it right now, and that's
Yep.
that's my problem. And hey, someone's got to win year 1, and this team definitely looks like an option. But it's just I don't like having to declare the third round. Like, hey, what it really means is no longer do I care about taking a high rookie that's barely going to play or taking a young upside guy because I need production. And I mean, I'll give him credit. He went down the line, and the only one that is kind of questionable is Tootin as his sixth running back, right? And it kind of works out based on what we were talking about earlier, but I'm not the biggest fan of just jumping in and saying I'm going that early. But more power to him.
Wow. Strengths for this team, I think it's very obvious. It's QBs and backs. That was his first 8 picks. He's very heavy at the back position, and then also you start off with Josh Allen, Mahomes. You're set for at least the next 3-4 years. Yes, they're kind of older, but I don't think anyone's thinking Mahomes is done in the next full 4 years. And Josh Allen, he still keeps playing the way he's playing, and he's going to be. I've been saying now for a year or two, I think it's time to sell Josh Allen, but he keeps proving me wrong, just like Henry has. But as long as he's still playing and playing the way he is, I think he's still deserving of the first overall pick. Team weakness. Tight end. Your tight end one is Goddard, who was good last year, but I think he's only back on a 1-year deal. And then after that, you've got Dalton Schultz and Ferguson, and not the one for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then wide receiver longevity was my other pick for team weakness. Like Michael Wilson could turn into something for a long-term, the value. Adams is probably done here soon. Sutton's probably done here soon. Pittman, he's still sort of young, but he's not, 23, 24. He did sign a 3-year deal with the Steelers, so he'll probably be your top guy in 2 years, which is scary. And then you have Myers, who I believe is 28, 29, still a solid player, just got a 3-year deal, I believe. So you're looking at Pittman and Myers being your QBs for the next, 3 years after this year, and you're hoping. But obviously, this is a win now team. I think it'd be crazy to call this a rebuild unless Miles does something crazy before the season starts, which he could do, but I don't see it happen.
He's done before.
He saw Mahomes and went, "I want this team." So,
well, Allen Mahomes. I mean, it looks beautiful. It's just, can they stay healthy? But I'm with you. You got 2 for years with a team that is old. Try and win it this year. Try and win it next year. If you want to trade your picks, go for it. Because if you trade those picks, you'll be able to get the 101 in 2028, 2029 pretty easily. I didn't mention my least favorite picks. It was Henry and Tootin. And the reason I bring that up is this is start 2 running backs and start 2 flex. Those 2 guys, you got to choose week 1 which of these 6 running backs, which 2 of these are you benching? And to me, it was overkill. I get the value if you're just going for it. It takes it off of someone else's plate, etc. But what if instead you went and got, what you considered the best tight end at that time, or you went and got, a third quarterback for trade value or for opportunities, or you go get your wide receiver 1 at that point. You had 2 picks, and literally, if I asked you, Gus, right now, week 1, are you benching McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, or Derrick Henry? And you would laugh.
Let me go.
A dumb option.
Let me go take a look at his lineup and see who he's actually got in there.
Miles, yeah.
And also look at the schedule for week 1 as well. Miles, where the fuck are you? There you are. So currently he's got in JT against Baltimore, CMC against the Rams, Saquon against the Commanders, Derrick Henry against the Colts. So that means he's got Tootin on his bench against Cleveland, and I believe he's already made a trade away Kyron. Yeah, so he's already made a trade in this startup. So not in the startup, but post startup.
I don't even remember that one.
Yeah, he traded away Kyron. He's got Devonta Smith now, so he traded away Kyron for
wide receiver, like we discussed. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Which is, I mean, probably a good idea. So he's clearly going for it, but good for him.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, right off the gate, here's you. I'll let you take the start on it.
You want me to go through it? So I ended up doing what I like to do best, which is always trading back in startups. There's twofold. One, I like getting future value and trying my best as kind of a tank year one and go from there and try and win. Let's be realistic. Try and win years 3, 4, and 5. Kind of make a three-peat in that time frame. I also enjoy trading, and trading back is kind of the only way I really like it. Unless I feel I'm getting a true value. It makes it fun for me. Part of it, and we discussed this on the show, I am more of a portfolio player, which means I have a bunch of other leagues that I'm going for it in. So in a startup, I might as well be one I'm not going for it. So I know already this startup team I'm not going for. So what ends up happening is I almost always try and accumulate future value and future picks while giving up high picks now. It means my teams are a bunch of depth and maybe one or two nice pieces and more youth and kind of hoping from there. Realistically, all these teams, I'm in the season after 4 or 5 weeks, I'll see where I'm at and either do trades to be competitive, which rarely happens because the team usually isn't good enough, or two, trade away some of my slightly older pieces that are performing well and get more picks. That's how I like to do it on these startups. I understand if you're only doing 1 or 2 startups a year, that it can be less fun that way because this team truly is not a contender. And I'll be frank, and you can look at that too, Gus, and say it. But so right away, I traded my 102 overall because that was the pick I got and traded it for a first and a second in 2027 and the 210. That's a little later than I usually like going, but that's the only deal I was able to get done. So I made that deal. And then I'm trying to see how many other picks I have total. Let me pull that up quickly. In the end, this is what I ended up with in the end. I ended up with 2 extra 27 firsts, 4
4.
extra 27 seconds, 2 extra 27 thirds, 2 extra 28 firsts, and an extra 28 second. So a lot of future capital. That's what it turned into. What does it mean? It means I wasn't able to trade all of them, but I only had 2 picks in the top 5 rounds is what it turned into. And so from there, this is what I ended up getting. So my team turned into Kyler Murray and Sam Darnold at quarterback, and that is it. Part of what I've started to do in these startups, which I'm noticing because it's reverse max points for, is if you're trying to actually play for the future, the way to make some of your picks better it's in the next year is to only have 2 quarterbacks. Because if you do max points for, if you have 3 quarterbacks, it's kind of like a best ball. One of those guys on your bench might go off. So if you only have 2, it means, hey, I can keep them for multiple years, hopefully. And then I'm not getting the third guy that would randomly hit my lineup. So I like only trying to get 2 QBs unless I think there's a crazy good value. So what I ended up getting out of this, I went running back heavy, which is usually not my strength, but I felt the value was there in this position. I got Devon Achane at the 210. I got Murray Hampton, excuse me. And then I didn't take another running back until round 19. So clearly, as you can see, it's not something I was trying to do. I just felt the value was there for these players, these young running backs that I think next year can be starters for me. This year, I hope they're good, great, fine, all that. Maybe they have value. Maybe I could trade them, maybe not. They're at least pieces, but at least the following year, if nothing else happens, I have them on my roster. So I told you my quarterbacks, Murray, Darnold, my running backs, Achane, Hampton. I got Kalen Black, Jordan James, Ray Davis, Elijah Wilson, and Seth McGowan as, running back 2/3 types. So depth. If a starter gets hurt and I have that opportunity and he comes up, I'm immediately going to spam the entire league to try and trade that player away. It's just at this point, because I'm playing for the future, there's no point in him trying to even hit my lineup. But it should help with competing teams. So those are guys I took late. Like I said, I took them rounds 19 through 24. So it's real late. My wide receivers, I have Brian Thomas, who I took at 6'12". I have Casey Concepcion, the rookie for Cleveland. And then I didn't take even my third receiver. I took Chris Brazzell, another rookie, at 14'2". I have Khalil Shakir, who clearly I cannot quit you, which is sad and good at the same point, but got him at 14-4. Ted Hurst, and Elijah Surratt. So I have one, two, three, four rookies, Brian Thomas and Khalil Shakir as my wide receivers. And anyone listening, anyone that's going to say that doesn't sound like a championship team, and you're right. But it also means hopefully within the first year or later this year, I'll know if I have something in them or not. And that's a key to be able to move forward. What you will see, and I'll get to the next position, the last position, tight end, because it's full point tight end premium, I want to be able to have one, two, three, four, as many tight ends that could hit my lineup this year, but also could turn into trade chips, as well as hopefully have them for next year as flex options. So I got Kyle Pitts at the 6'2". I have AJ Barner, probably reached a little for him at the 9'11". I have Chig Okonkwo. I got Mark Andrews. I know he's older, but he signed a contract. And based on tight end premium, he's an easy guy. I'm assuming mid-year I can trade away. I got Oscar Delp, Justin Jolie, who is my boy. And then as the last pick of the entire draft, I took Endries. And I actually think I had some 25th rounders. Yes, I have a couple more. In the 25th round, I took Sam Roush. I missed a couple running backs. I have Jam Miller and Roman Hemby that I took real late there too. Of course, all these guys are truly taxi squad guys that I could just throw in my taxi squad and was able to pick up other players later. But in that, you saw I have a lot of tight ends. So in full tight end premium, I'm able to get the full capacity all the way through the flexes and hopefully be able to trade one or two of these guys when teams realize they have injuries or need a tight end. So that's my team. I'll let you go, Gus, with what you hate, like, all of it, and then I can go through my favorite picks and what I hated most.
All right, my favorite pick, I say, was Kyler at the 7-9. You got him after Baker, after Stroud. Kyler is an interesting player for this kind of setup that you were going for. It's a player that's either going to gain a lot in value after the season or drop in value. And you're taking a shot on someone that, if you do want to trade them midway through the season, because they're a QB1 in fantasy, which wouldn't be crazy with the way that he plays and the offense now that he's in. He's on a new team. I like having Kyler right now because you got him for cheap last year and the year before that, and he's cheap now. And this is where he could really have an upswing on his career. So having someone that could potentially gain a lot in value this year, I like that pick, especially as your QB1 with this type of build. If you're trying to compete now, having Kyler as your QB1 would be terrifying. But for this build, you're taking a swing, and then your QB2 being Sam Darnold, you know that he's going to be your QB2 ish for probably the next year or two at least. He had a great season, so not a whole lot of change there. So Kyler being my favorite pick, you didn't have a whole lot of great picks to talk about just because of the way you're built. All of your great picks were the trades that you got for future picks. So Kyler Murray being your QB1 that could potentially gain a lot in value, that was probably my favorite pick. The pick I hated was, I think you've already talked to it. You didn't expect this to happen. You don't typically do this, but it was pick 210 and 211, the two backs very high. Your first two picks for this type of builds. I tried to stay away from backs altogether. Like I would have not taken either of those two, and these, five down here would have been my starting backs. Not that I don't like Hampton or HN. I think they're both great players and will be great for a long time. It's the fact that the volatility of their value at the position that they're in. I talk about it all the time. Everyone listening probably knows that by now. If they get hurt, one of these guys tears an ACL, like they're going to be in the fourth, fifth round next year, just because that's the way it works at the position. I don't care how young you are. I mean, you can talk to Brees Hall. He's come back, but not a lot of backs do. And yes, they just paid HN. Hampton's going to his second year, but just trying to look at other players that I would have taken to fit this build would have been wide receiver, like Drake London or Tate, or trade one of these picks out and take like London, or go with a high-end tight end like Colston or something like that, or even take your first QB, whichever one you wanted at this point, just to have that foundation for the years to come. Not that Hampton and Achan can't be that. It's just you a lot has to go right for them with health and their teams. Like Achan, great player, just got the bag. That team's going to be dog shit for the next 2 or 3 years. Um, so he's going to get a lot of volume, a lot of wear and tear on a player that is not the biggest guy, so it could go downhill for him quick. Yes, you can flip these two guys for a haul mid-season, and I wouldn't be shocked if you traded them mid-season for more picks next year, or like a young wide receiver, like one of the rookies like Tyson or Tate or something like that, plus picks. So it's just that this doesn't typically fit the bill that you were trying to go for, so that's why I don't like it. But there's both great players. I do like the value that you got with them because they're normally middle of the second. So the fact that they fell this far, I don't hate it.
Yeah, that part of the thing, Gus, that made it tough is I tried very hard and reached out to different managers for the 210 and the 211 to trade back and out like I did on the first round. And
Yeah.
anything, no one wanted to. Literally all other 11 managers weren't interested. And so I thought this was going to be one of those drafts, as much as I like to trade back and try to do it, that I was either going to get stonewalled or people just weren't going to trade. And so I was like, you know what? If that's the case, this team turned into, I got an extra first and second. Great. Let me see if maybe I can compete. And I think the best way is getting my running backs, and then we'll deal with receiver, quarterback, and tight end after. And then, of course, I tried in the third round, was able to trade them away. Tried in the fourth round, was able to trade that pick away. You know, all of a sudden the picks started going and people got a little looser, seeing that some of the value had fallen, right? And so it kind of locked me in on where I was. But I agree with you. You know, if I knew this is the build or this is what was going to happen, I might have taken one of the running backs, but truly taking Drake London instead of one of the running backs would have been the way to go. You know,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And just to speak on the way that this draft was going, this was a 4-hour timer, and you would think that it was a 30-second timer the way that people were pushing people to pick. This draft was over in a week and a half, and normally startups are 2 or 3 weeks, and this draft ended so quickly. I know that at some point some people were starting to pop off in the chat. It was like, no, Colin, no one wants your fucking pick. Just make your pick.
That's after literally 5 minutes. It was like,
yeah,
no,
like
trash, get out of here, let's go pick. And I'm on, you know,
like
I'm 8 picks away. I want to get done before the end of the night. It was like, holy cow. But hey,
yeah,
this is what it ended up with. Yeah.
You could be on the clock for 10 seconds. People were like, God, you still ain't picked yet? And it was for everybody in the draft. You would think that they're like the season started the next day, the way that people were trying to make picks in this league. But it was fun. It was fun. How about you talk to your favorite and your least favorite?
So my favorite pick, because he's still young and I think he's going to be the number 2 option in Washington, was Chigo Okonkwo at the 12-11. I just truly feel he was the value there. I think Sleeper's ADP is too late to move him up. I think Ertz is gone. They're not bringing him back. They signed Okonkwo. And Tony Williams is a great possible rookie. But if we truly think Washington comes back, Terry McLaurin's the one, of course. They need a second option. And, I mean, for how much Jaden Daniels loved Zach Ertz in the way, and we know Senate is not the answer, I think Chig at the 12-11, especially in point tight end premium, is a very nice value. And then,
it was a good pick.
Yeah, and my least favorite pick, the more I look at this team and the way I'm just like, and maybe it's me with a little bit of rookie hype, and maybe it was just who was left on the board, but taking Casey Concepcion at the 7-11 kind of hurts. You know, could he be good? Yes. Could he turn into a wide receiver 2 next year, or maybe even show some flashes this year? Yes. Do people love him? Yes. I liked him. You and I liked him on film. It actually fits my build, but it just doesn't feel right with everyone else around it. And it does fit the bill, and where, you know, rookies go, and 7-11 to get the 107 feels awesome. There's something about it that doesn't feel right. I think some people might love it, but that's the one that kind of is meh. If I looked at another one, it would be Mark Andrews at the 12 too, because he doesn't fit the build at all. He's the guy that probably in season I should be looking to trade. And so after 2 or 3 weeks, if he has a good game and I'm not competing, which is probably the case, he's immediately should go on the trade block, and I should start trying to trade him immediately to Miles's team, the one we just saw.
Yeah. We started to record, and apparently the 2 leaks that are drafting decided to pop off. And I looked down, and I had 50 messages sitting there. Oh shit!
Oh shit is right. Of course that makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah. All right. How about you pick your strengths and weaknesses? I don't think they're going to differ, but go ahead.
I mean, the strengths, whether you like it or not, are just future picks and future capital. You can
Yep.
somewhat say Hampton and Achan. I don't have a pure running back room with so much dominant talent or young talent, but those 2 starting running backs or young running backs feel great to have. Definitely trade chips if I need to do it, or just keep them for a year. And really, it's all about the picks. The extra picks I have, the opportunity, hoping for both these quarterbacks to be usable, and then draft one next year, and then playing from there. And the tight end. I feel the tight end and the tight end depth is definitely a strong suit. My weaknesses are the receivers. I'm gonna have to, truly, this team is going for the 101 next year, so hopefully I'll get 101, maybe a 104. Couple of those so I can take some really good rookies to pair with these guys, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them hit. If BTJ turns around, part of the reason I like taking him is if he does turn around, now all of a sudden I have a solid, let's say high wide receiver 2. And then I hope to find a wide receiver 1 in rookie drafts. But wide receiver is weak. QB1 is very weak. And it's all about the picks. So moving forward, we'll see what happens. But it gives me a lot of flexibility. I don't really think I'm competing. It's a future play, and hope some of these guys, these long shots hit or have the opportunity to hit, and move on from there.
All right. Well, let's move on to the third. All right. This is a new member to the Dynasty Dads circle. This was his first startup. CMR Trofer, if you want to try and pronounce that another way. CRM.
CM Topher, right?
I have no fucking idea, but he's the one that traded for your 102. So his team, let's talk about his picks first, just because I know, he doesn't have any for 2027 except his 3rd next year. All futures after that are intact. QBs are Drake May, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Cade Klubnik, and DeVito. Backs are K9, Stevenson, Pollard, Spears, Trey Benson. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Travis Hunter, your favorite guy, Isaac Tesla, Diggs, Chimray DK, Keenan Allen, Thornton, and Tez Johnson down there.
I think CJ Allen, the rookie that Kansas City took.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, his photo didn't load in for me for a second.
Yeah.
Jake Ferguson, Njoku, and Jake Tonjins are his tight end, so pretty weak there outside of Ferguson. Right out the gate, my favorite pick that I also missed AJ Brown out here. Sorry about that. My favorite pick that he made was AJ Brown. He made this pick before the trade went through for AJ Brown, so he took it hopefully with the hope of a stack with May, and it hit. And AJ Brown going in the 6th round is quite a fall from the 2-3 turn where he was going this past year. I said it last year. He's going to drop in value. It has nothing to do with talent. It's all going to be due because of age. And here he is 4 rounds later. Still a great player to get your wide receiver 3 that could be most teams 1. That's a pretty good get, and especially with the calling your shot on the stack with Drake May. That was my favorite pick. Least favorite pick, I can't find one, and I wrote that down because I really didn't. I didn't hate any of these picks. Like I toyed with Njoku at the 14-3, but I was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, he could have gotten Henry. That's probably where I would have went, but this is a very good team the way that I would have drafted. I didn't want to say Hunter because you already picked him. I'm sure you'll talk in
Okay.
depth about it, but I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, this team is very nice, well put together. I really enjoyed the balance, and then realizing after trading your first and second away that I should be going for it now, right? And it didn't take long to figure out, okay, let me go for the now. And if you look at some of the later picks, that's where you start to really see the now come in. You know, May, Chase, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, Goff, Walker, and ETN are fine. Jake Ferguson, same. All of a sudden, you get to Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, and Joku, Aaron Rodgers as a third quarterback. And you can see he's playing, I gave it my picks, F them picks. I'm going for the now. And all these picks that he selected in that range are truly win now pieces. And it will help with depth as well as, probably win him some weeks. So I like the way he combined the getting rid of my first and second into let's compete now. My favorite pick, and especially in kind of a mold like this, is Jake Tonges. I feel early on, while Kittle is getting ready, he's a easy, especially in full tight end premium, tight end one for me. If not, at least a top 15 guy. And you got him at the 19.10 pick. And so in that area, you immediately have another tight end, whether you want to start Ferguson right away or not, to be able to throw in and use. The least favorite pick, and I've said this on every podcast we do, is Travis Hunter. I just think he is a wasted pick unless you get him somewhere in the 20s. Like, as much as he's talented, athletic, freak, etc., he's not playing enough wide receiver for you to trust him at any point. This isn't best ball. Even in best ball, I'm not that excited. But if I think he's going to play 60% of his snaps at cornerback and 40% of his snaps at wide receiver, that's not enough to make it worth anywhere where he's going. So Travis Hunter is clearly my least favorite pick.
I wasn't surprised by that pick at all. I knew as soon as I went into the dock that you would already have him there, and sure enough, you did.
Yep.
So, very good team to try and win now. This is definitely a team that's trying to win now. Team strength, I think is top end wide receiver. I know you don't like Hunter, but the other three are phenomenal to have as your top three: Chase, Garrett Wilson, and AJ Brown. Team weakness, I put the wide receiver position depth overall because outside of those three, you're hoping that Hunter can be a flex play. Tesla gets more of a role. And then really nothing else outside of that. So he's probably going to be starting, Stevenson and Pollard and, maybe Spears if he's in for Pollard at some point. But outside of your top three wide receivers and your two backs, it gets real sketchy once you try to get into your flex spots.
I, I think you're right. He's probably going to be starting running backs early, which isn't great, but I think Tonjes will be one of the flexes probably early. So we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to Kilrow. I hope that's how you fucking say it. He's been in these leagues for a while. He is an Eagles fan, even though I don't think he took any. I don't fucking see any. He took Tank down at the very bottom, so I guess he's sort of. But as far as his picks, where'd it go? Here we go. He does not have a 27 first. He has Miles 27 second, and he has a 27 fourth. No 28 first or second. 29 is intact, so he is all in for this year. His QBs are Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, and Marcus Mariota as the handcuff to Jaden Daniels. Oh, yep, to Jaden Daniels. His backs are Brees Hall, Judkins, Hubbard, Dowdle, Mason, Bigsby, and the last pick of the draft, Marshawn Lloyd, who some people think is going to start the year. Get the fuck out of my face. Wide receivers, top two, JSN and Justin Jefferson. He has Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Pearsall, Omar Cooper, Naylor, Stribling, Noel, Kirk, Debo, if he signs with someone, Bateman for his 2 games a year where he pops off, tight ends, Sam Laporta, Dulcich, and Jasicki. Favorite picks right out the gate. Justin Jefferson at the 209. I believe in Kyler for this year. So Justin Jefferson getting a upgraded QB over 9, that's huge for him, and I think he's going to get the ball a lot. Kyler doesn't really throw over the middle as much. He's more of an outside guy, where Justin Jefferson can win a lot. He's lined up in the slot and outside a lot over his career, but having someone that can win on the outside is a favor to Kyler. You think back when he had DeAndre Hopkins that was on the outside a lot. But so that type of player, I would assume JJ is going to line up a lot outside this year just to favor Kyler. But to get him at the 209, after McMillan, Lamb, Neighbors, like I think Justin Jefferson is going to be better than all 3 of those guys this year. So, and he's not to that point yet in age where you need to turn away. I believe he's 27. So he's probably going to be turning 28 at some point, but for the next 2 years, this is going to be one of the best players in fantasy, as long as Kyler doesn't absolutely shit the bed, which is not out of the question. But to me, that was my favorite pick. The one I hated the most was Pearsall. At the 10-2, just because you already had so many wide receivers. And to take Pearsall, I feel like you could have went with back, like a Kyle Manungai as your RB3. He did take Chuba not too long after, so that's something. But Pearsall as your wide receiver, probably, I don't know, 5, 6, like, I don't know, like maybe taking a QB there as well. Just something else to fit your team. Not to say that Pearsall can't get back to where he was for that short stretch of games 2 years ago if he can stay healthy. But to be seen. He's someone that I hope does something, because Mike Evans is not going to be there forever, and there's no one really else there for Brock Purdy outside of Kittle and CMC, who are also at the tail end of their career. So,
yep. No, I mean, this another well put together team with 2 solid quarterbacks and 2 stud receivers, with a little bit questionable running backs, at least for this year, where I like the future opportunities of them. And then Laporta with a back injury. So clearly some studs and some strength. I really do like getting Terry McLaurin if you're playing for the now. I just think he's the best win now wide receiver that's cheaper. If you're trying to do it now, so in those teams that I'm going for, he's a guy I'm trying to trade sometime in mid-season, trying to get him. If not before the season, he's a guy I might just start offering around for teams I'm going for it. But my favorite pick on the whole is, and when I look at favorite picks, it's usually somewhere 7, 8, 9 or later, where I feel it's a great value that if you pick them that late, could they contribute to your team? If not, if I'm looking for 14, 15 later, can they hit your team and be on your starting roster and actually put them in there regularly? And my guy is Greg Dulcich at the 20.4. I just feel, going this draft happened before all the hype that Dulcich is doing well, but even before that, he clearly had an opportunity to be the first or second option in receiving. And so I really like that. The only disappointing part is he might need to fill in for Laporta right away, depending on how his back is. Everything seems fine. He'll be in, etc. But I like that pick because I think you could use him as a flex if you want, especially while some of these other guys develop where you get to see more about it. My least favorite pick, based on seeing how he already had developed his team, and with JSN, with Jefferson, with Daniels, Herbert, 2 younger running backs, but also giving away his future first and second, Omar Cooper seems kind of like almost like a wasted, just extra pick. Doesn't feel like it fit the whole model or goal. whether I like the player or not, it just feels like you gave up your first, you got a starting lineup, take another player that's gonna be usable week in, week out to start, not a Geno Smith wide receiver 2. I that was the one that was questionable. That's the one I liked least.
Fair enough. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it fits. Who would you rather him have taken? Would have been like one of the tight ends that went right after
Yes. What
Terry, like Ferguson, Barner, or maybe like a Devonte Adams.
so if he takes Devontae Adams, all of a sudden this team is quite scary. Even more so. Now he's taken the points off the board from other teams and now has a clear that would have been his flex. Yes, his first flex is now Devontae Adams, which means he has 3 other receivers ahead of him. I mean, that's, just scary. Or Ferguson at that point, probably. Just looking at it, he could have hit the lineup too. Anybody else that hits my eye real quickly? That's about it. But probably
Yeah.
Devontae Adams would have been the one based on the build and giving away your picks.
Okay. Fair enough. Team strength. I went with the two QBs at the very top, Jane Daniels and Herbert. You're very strong at QB. Hopefully, you feel like you're set for the next, 5, 6 years with those two guys at least, if not more, if they can stay healthy. I know Herbert's been hurt a lot, but he's played through it. Jane Daniels been hurt to the point where he pretty much missed all of last year. But he did grab the backup, so not a whole lot of depth behind those, but when you have two top tier guys like that, I feel like that's a very good room. You could have thrown in here your wide receiver depth being the strength as well. Weakness, I went tight end just because you're banking on Sam Laporta with the back injuries. Yes, like you mentioned, you could start Greg Dulcich, but that offense is not inspiring to a lot of people.
Yeah. No,
And definitely a win now team when you trade away your next 2 year first round picks. So
yep. Better make it worth it.
yeah. All right, next is going to be Bebe Alex. He's been here since the very beginning. I think we're going into like year 5 or 6 in the older leagues. Um, his draft picks, he's got all of his picks for the next 3 years. He's got all of his 27s, 28s, and 29s. Um, QBs, he's got 3 really good ones at the top: Hurts, Love, and Stroud. He does have Quentin Ewers down there at the bottom. Backs, he's got Bijan and Genty to start his draft. Javante, Mike Washington, the other B. Robinson in Atlanta, Jaden Blue, Devin Neal, wide receivers, Emeka Egbegbu, Marvin Harrison, Alec Pierce, QJ Coker, Jalen McMillan, Jawan Jennings, and Jahan Dotson. Tight ends is Hawkinson, Henry Otten, Freiermuth, and Theo Johnson. A bunch of tight end 2-3 types to try to shotgun that position. Right out the gate, my favorite pick. I don't think one that you will agree with. It's QJ, and me and you have talked about him quite a bit. Me and Miles too, as well. Especially when y'all made that trade where he sent you 2/3 for QJ. I mean, he's a player to me that's going to be on the field every play for the Chargers on offense. He's going to be the outside guy, and he's going to be the wide receiver that's got the most snaps for Justin or Herbert. I think that his volume that he'll be on the field mixed with his stretch that he had at the start of last season when everyone was healthy, he was a top wide receiver in fantasy. And to get him as your wide receiver 4 in the 11th round, I really like that pick.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is another one just straight down the board, started taking picks. When you don't trade any of your picks away, he only made one trade where it clearly moved up to get Alec Pierce and then gave up a couple back-to-back rounds and then got, I guess, the 11-11 in the end.
Yeah, so it looks like the 9-8 and 10-5 for the 8-11 and 11-11 was the
Yes,
trade.
exactly. That's what it looks like, just because he didn't give him any picks. So he has some flexibility based on the next future years. But, for me, I'm I'm not the biggest fan of just kind of staying in the middle, which is what he did, where you keep all your picks and you're not necessarily going for it, but you're not necessarily going for pure youth. Now, a lot of these guys are young, right? Bijan, Genti. But some of the other guys hope can win now. You said QJ, but if he doesn't pan out this year, he's kind of useless, right? TJ Hawkinson. What's up with that? So I'll start there. My least favorite pick is TJ Hawkinson. He's useless to me. I don't see it. You need Kyler to go off to really be excited, which I have a lot of shares and I'm hoping he does well, but you need Kyler to go off, the offense to be quite pass heavy, and that would include Addison and JJ doing well. So he's the third option on a team that's we hope does better or we think might do better, but he's not he's not stepped up and doesn't feel like the guy that they want to revolve the offense around. And they shouldn't. So the idea that Hawkinson's your tight end one is very worrisome. If you want to take him a few rounds later as your tight end 2 or 3 and just say, hey, what happens if Addison or JJ gets hurt and maybe he bumps up? But we saw some of that last year. Now the quarterback play sucked, but he still didn't take a step forward. So Hawkins is my least favorite. And then my favorite pick, and it's a guy I've loved, and what I do like about this pick is that it also pairs with another one you took. Is I love Jalen McMillan. Um, I feel there is a chance, and this is later on. Now we hear in the hype buzz, the camp buzz, excuse me, that he's been doing well, looking good in camp. Outplaying Egbuka and some of the other guys. Who knows? It could be all bullshit, but to me, the idea that you pair McMillan with Egbuka, you're somewhat handicapping if something happens poorly to Egbuka or an injury on either guy, the other one jumps up. So I like that. I love the value there at the 13-8, I believe. Yes,
Yep.
13-8. He's one of the guys I would have looked at with my picks coming up. I really think he could be sliding into a wide receiver 2 role for this team. Godwin's still there, but next year, or if somehow an injury happens, or there's a lot of opportunities for this value to go up. So I like McMillan when he went.
Yeah. So on the pick I hate, and I think it's gonna be pretty obvious why, was Alec Pierce at the 8-11, and it's because the very next pick was 8-12 was Christian Watson. Right? You
Yes, let's not be a
traded
super homer, right? Yeah, okay.
you traded up to take Pierce. I get it. He just got the bag, and he's probably going to, in most people's eyes, be the top guy there. But you have a lot of other options there where I think it could easily go towards Downs. It could easily go towards Warren and Pierce be like the QJ of the offense for the Colts, kind of like QJ for the Chargers, who you got 2-3 rounds later. So, I mean, if he traded up to take a tight end, likely if you think that he's going to be the top option there for a while, or just take Christian Watson, the better player, it's fine.
They both just got paid. Our number one wide receivers on their offenses got paid very similar salaries. So whether you think Watson's better, and I
I
probably
do.
would agree. My biggest thing, he got paid. Watson hadn't yet. If you had known the contract was coming, a long-term deal, yes, you believe in Love more than you believe in Daniel Jones / Achilles / injury. So I agree with you there. But if you had no idea where Christian Watson would be next year, would you feel differently?
I would have made this pick during the startup. I would have taken Watson, and it's because I did believe that Watson would get a long term deal, just from what the team was talking about, and it's just I can't shake Watson. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
He's your
Um,
boy. He will always be your boy. So yes, I get it.
yeah, but I think Watson has the better year, and I think Watson has the better long term career as well. That's just me. Don't take my
Fair.
advice on that. Take Pierce.
Well,
take Pierce and let me draft Watson.
right. Exactly.
All right. Did you already go over the pick you hate?
Yeah, it was TJ Hawkinson, and then I like
Yeah.
McMillan as my favorite pick. So we
All
already
right.
went through that.
Team strength, I went with RB studs. I mean, you started off hot and heavy with Bijan and Genty. Whether you have Bijan first or second, Genty as third or fourth, whichever way you want to go about it, and then Javante, who just got the contract in Dallas. So your top three backs are pretty set for the next at least year or two with Javante, but Bijan and Genty is a foundation that you hope stays in place for the next 3-4 years.
And one thing I need to bring up also, which is an interesting way to do it, is if you look further down, he got Mike Washington, who looks like he was drafted to be the backup of Genty. He got Brian Robinson very late at the 20th round, who is the backup or presumed backup to Bijan. And at the time, Jaden Blue, who might have been the backup to Javante Williams. In other words, he just said, let me try and lock up three backfields that are, what do you think, the offenses are great or good? At least not the worst offenses on these running backs, and locked them up. So I like that strategy. I think it's different. It means you're locked into your guys. And if one of the studs gets hurt, you at least have his backup. Now, he probably won't produce as well as the studs, but at least you have the opportunity to immediately jump into the starter. So it's an
Yeah.
interesting way to do it, but he had a plan and he stuck to it. And the more I watch it, I kind of like that. Now I like taking some other shots on other teams so I can get an extra starter or an extra piece to
Yeah.
get an opportunity to trade. But I understand from his standpoint now he's got Atlanta, the Raiders, and Dallas running backs pretty locked up for a while.
Yeah, don't ever look at bye weeks when you're doing a startup, but I just checked to see if they had the same bye week, because that would be funny as shit if all three backs were on buys. It means the whole entire bench that you have for those backs are also on buys, but no, they're 11, 13, and 14, so that'll be a rough stretch for him this year, but it doesn't matter in Dynasty. Don't worry about buys during the startup.
I never look at buys either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the thing that, there's a strategy that I tried in redraft and it actually worked okay at points is to stack your bye weeks. In other words, try and have as many of the same players on one bye week. And so when the buys come, yes, you'll probably lose that week. But on the other weeks, your whole rest of your starting lineup is pretty much there
Yeah.
where the others might be losing one or two good players.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway.
there's a couple ways to go about it, but team weakness, I went with wide receiver just because you have so many players that have question marks, and who do you think is your one? It's probably Egbuka, but it could be Marv, or both could shit the bed this year, and you're staring at Pierce and QJ, the same type of player as your top two guys. Yes, you're still going to be starting these two guys every week, but are they doing enough for you? I am a huge believer in Egbuka, so like I'm not too concerned, but Marv is getting to the point where what is he going to be? So it's kind of thin at the top, but you have depth of guys that are going to be on the field. You just don't have the same ceiling as the last team that had Jason and Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown and shit like that. Well, not AJ Brown, but Terry McLaurin and Pearsall. But
Right.
not Pearsall, but
Yeah.
all right. And I think we agree this is a win now team. Yes, he does have all of his picks. So if he wants to flip, or if it doesn't go well this year, then it's pretty easy for him to do so.
Yep.
Moving on to Colombo. He actually joined from a league. I'm in a league with him, and he ended up wanting to do a startup, so he joined this one. This is his first league in the dad's circle. He has his 27 first. He does not have his 27 second, but he has someone else's. He doesn't have a 27 third. He's got two 27 fourths, and his 28th and 29th picks are intact. He traded a good amount to start the draft. His QBs are Jackson Dart, Baker Mayfield, Tua, and Penix. And that was the last QB he took. He doesn't have a 25th round pick. Oh no. Backs are Henderson, Scadaboo, Quorum, Tracy, Crod, Pacheco, Jalen Wright. Wide receiver, Burden, Ladd, Tyson, and J-Mo. He's got Bryant, Judy, Mooney, and Xavier Leggett. Tight ends, he's got Colston, he's got Likely, Arroyo, Komet, and Parkinson. Right out the gate. Oh, I also miss Gaston, who we'll talk about here in a minute. Favorite pick for me was Scat at the 7-2. Just trying to look at the backs that are going around him. I think he's got the highest ceiling to rise in value after this season. Like Bucky Irving, I don't think one good season is going to bring people back to him being a top five round pick. Josh Jacobs is getting older. You have RJ Harvey, who I do not care about. Javante's older, well, not older, but he's into his what? He's going in. He's 25, but it feels like he's been around forever.
Right.
So the youth of Scattaboo and the pure volume that he's going to get him as your RB2 on a fairly young team, pretty young team. I really love that pick. The pick I hated was Rondé Gatson, and it's because you already had Colston, and then you end up getting Isaiah Likely later. You could have taken another back, so somewhere in this range, or maybe another wide receiver. I just don't like taking a Gadsden's probably fine in a year or two, but them adding in Joku is not good for him. I don't think. Yes, he's going to be on the field a lot, but there's so many mouths to feed in that offense. You also have Ladd. You don't have the QB for any of those stacks. Gadsden, I feel like is a little bit early. I know this is kind of where he's going. I just don't believe in it. I would rather have Ferguson, Barner. I'd rather have Likely Kincaid. Just it. He had a stretch of what was it, 3 or 4 games last year that was great, and then did diddly squat for the rest
It,
of the season.
it was 4 great games. My biggest issue, this isn't best ball. So how are you going to know when to start him? That's
Yeah,
my issue. It's like
good
he
luck.
might come out and have a great game week 2, maybe not week 1, but week 2, where he gets 60 yards and a touchdown. And then you're like, all right, now it's time to start him. The next week he goes 3 for 24. Right. And it's like, oh shit. And then you're like, should I write him again? And you keep having that question. That's the guys I don't really want. It's the constant questions. It's kind of like we've discussed before with almost pure deep threat wide receivers. Jamison Williams is a good example. How do I know when to start him? If I keep starting him every week, he's going to make me lose 2 weeks and win one, or help me win one. And if he helps me lose two, it's not worth it. And so that's those are my issues with kind of players like that. Um, I agree. I There are a lot of picks and a lot of players I think I enjoy on this team and think he's set up pretty well. Let me go to, I guess, my favorite pick. And there's a couple, but one of them that I really liked was um, he got, let me see what pick, 19.7. And I'm coming around to it, is he got Isaiah Pacheco. The idea that Pacheco didn't do great, has been injured for a couple years. He got signed to be the number 2 running back, somewhat change of pace, but also has the opportunity. If I told you Gibbs went down for 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain, is Pacheco a top 15 running back?
Probably.
And that's the idea that he's going so late is kind of a guy I'm starting to come around on in startups and on teams that you're hoping to compete this year, as a perfect handcuff that as soon as, if the true starter goes down, you have a top guy. Like, truly, I don't know if Brian Robinson with Bijan is that good of an option. You know, I think Bijan's special. Gibbs is special, but that offense helps too. And so the idea that Pacheco, you get him so late is very nice. Based on what I'm seeing now in startups too, the idea you got Loveland and a full tight end premium at the 3.5 is nice, is pretty impressive.
Oh yeah.
I keep seeing him go in full tight end premium and other startups I'm doing. He's going somewhere almost mid to late second in most. So I need to highlight that. That's really a change of, I guess, a month of startups, but you're seeing it more in this full tight end premium that Loveland's jumping up. And the idea you got him in the third, even mid third, is very nice. My least favorite pick is Tua as a third quarterback. You took him at the 10, 11. Just feels too early for me. I understand wanting to get a third quarterback. And what I do love is later on, he actually paired him with Penix. So you have the Atlanta quarterback for this year and probably, let's say probably next year. But the idea you had to jump up for Tua that early is not my favorite. I'm not going to criticize any of those later picks. I did want to highlight, I didn't want to bring up Gadsden because I thought you would. And I also didn't want to talk about Scadaboo because I love that pick too. But he's your boy. He has been for a while. So I had to leave him for you, knowing you were going to talk about him. If not, I would have called you out on it.
That's fair. That is fair. All right. Team strength. This is a very young team that has a lot of upside for this year and years down the road. This is probably one of the youngest teams, if not the youngest. His top. No one outside of really Baker in the top 10 rounds outside of Tua. So Tua and Baker, everyone's like early to mid 20s. So like very very young team, but it was good value. I think where he took most of the players.
I'm trying to remember what were his picks left because, I would get it if he had some picks. I think he didn't. He didn't trade his first either year. He has all his 28s. He got rid of his second and third, but at least he did keep most. So if he decides to keep this young team and then play for the future years, he could probably trade a couple older players and get some picks and leverage back. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, this is a team where if it goes south soon in the year, then he's still got a very young team for next year that's probably going to gain a lot in value. And then he has his first for next year. He has someone else's second. He doesn't have his third, but he's got 2/4. So this is a team that still has pretty much all the picks that he would need to go into in next year. And it's a fairly young team. So if it doesn't go great to start this year, don't worry because your wide receiver 2 is. The second one he took was Tyson, but you have JMO and Ladd. I would expect Ladd to jump back up, not to where he was his first year, but somewhere between his first and second year in the league, probably being a wide receiver 2 for the most part. So wide receiver could get sketchy, especially because you don't have much depth outside of your top 4 that you would feel great about starting. But you have picks to move if you need to, or you could just trade Gadsden for, I don't know, like Christian Watson or something like that. I don't know. But
Yeah, and my only thing is he might be able to realize I don't know how this team does weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's like he'll at least find out quickly if he's competing or not. Like Loveland, yes. I guess you're starting likely in a flex. Starting Jordan Tyson as a rookie week 1 is scary. Luther Burden, all the hype's there, but if he doesn't hit right away, who knows? Jameson Williams is up and down, and Ladd McConkey, we're hoping comes into his own, but we don't know where he'll be. We hope Baker bounces back. His starting running back just came off a broken leg, right? And
he's
Henderson,
fine.
who isn't a starter. So it's kind of like, to me, he's going to have to get lucky weeks 1 through 4, and then from there could be an awesome team, or we'll clearly know I need to start planning for the future.
Yeah, for the win now or rebuild part, I put he's a win now, but if players don't take the next step, quick, then he's got a great team to go into next year. So it's not like it's I got to sell everything off. You already have a pretty young team.
I would
All
call this
right.
a rebuild personally, but yeah.
Yeah, I get it, but I also see the pathway where he's a top 6 team. So all right, double tap. You and him are in the same exact amount of these leagues. Y'all are both in 27. No, y'all are in 26. No, 27. Yeah, 27 leagues apiece. He's done a few startups this year, and every single one's been straight down the boards the way he likes to draft. And he's been consistently one of the least favorite teams of mine. Before this episode started recording, I told him in the chat, man, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell you. But, he loves the game, and I can't fault him for it. He wants to be in every single league. So I Totally get it. He did not trade once during the startup. He has all of his picks for 27, 28, 29. QBs are Joe Burrow, T Law, Bo Nix, and Mendoza and Drew Aller down at the bottom. Running backs Harvey, Montgomery, Singleton, Bill, Katron Allen, Kamara, Claiborne. Wide receivers Higgins, Waddle, the other Higgins, so he's got both of them. He's got Trey Harris, Tank Dell, Kayshawn Booty, Trey Tucker, and Flanoy. Tight ends Fannin, Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor, Michael Trigg. So right off the bat, favorite pick was the stacks that he got with Waddle and Higgins. He's got the QB for both those guys. Problem is, those are your first two wide receivers, and it takes a while for. I mean, and it takes a lot for them to stay on the field the full season. So those being your top two guys, and not taking another wide receiver till round 11, who's a wide receiver 2 or 3 on his team. It's a bit scary at that position, but I like that since you waited so long to take a wide receiver, you got two that are pretty good. Like you could have went AJ Brown or Marv or Ladd or something like that. But these are two wide receivers that people think a lot of. I love T. Higgins. I'm not sure how Waddle's going to play out in Denver, but if he hits, he's probably going to be pretty good as long as he can stay on the field. The picks I hated was Mendoza. You took a 4th QB in the top 5 rounds when you could have taken a wide receiver or a back. I mean, your RB1 is RJ Harvey, for Christ's sakes. Like, I don't know what your plan is going into the season. If you're trying to compete or if you're trying to play for the future, but if you did, he got good value with his top 5 picks, but you could have used them somewhere else to fill out a complete roster to start the year if you were going to try and contend. If your goal was just to take the best value going all the way down the board, I think you did okay at that. It's a solid team. I don't see it being a top 6 team this year. I mean, your RB 1 and 2 is RJ Harvey and David Montgomery. It's going to be very hard to win a lot of games with those backs, with also not having a very deep wide receiver core. You can only start 2 QBs, and you got 4 in the top 5. So it's just tough. There was people joking in the chat, like, is he going to take another one? Is he going to take another one? Because like he started off 3, and then when it got to his 4th, people were really thinking he was going to take another QB, and he didn't, and he went Fannin, but then he came right back and got everybody with a 4th QB. So, what's your take on it?
I mean, I put in the show doc first that I didn't like the Mendoza pick. You could see in other startups, Mendoza's been falling more. Overkill on quarterbacks. I get it. There's a QB horde. Some people like it. The problem is you need to be very active and willing to trade, and being the first guy on the market as soon as someone gets injured. You need to be very active with it, And the other problem is when you do it like this, who's his wide receiver 3, his flex 1 and flex 2, and running back 2, to start. I don't see. You didn't make trades to try and plan for the future. You do have all your picks for all the foreseeable future for this year, for 27 and 28. But if this was the plan, maybe started training back at some point. I love the value in T. Higgins and Waddle. I do. In the 6th and the 7th, getting wide receiver, probably both wide receiver 2s that late in the draft is great. I've been a Harvey fan. I've actually been getting him more in startups purely because he falls a lot. Harvey, based on where he got him in the 8th, actually fell based on ADP for sleeper. Montgomery seems kind of like, hey, you're grasping at straws trying to get the starter. There's just so many holes week 1 that having all those QBs, you either better go find a trade, but who you trading with to give up a QB now and trying to find pieces for right away, I think is part of the trouble. looking, and we're going to get into more teams. The teams that need QBs are probably me, who I'm not giving up any picks or players for another QB right away. That doesn't help my build. What's the point of it? And a couple other teams are in a similar boat. So I get it. You thought you took value, which is probably smart, but for me, the Mendoza pick is really hurting you. The one pick that I liked most, I already talked about Higgins and Waddle, but I like getting Gunnar Helm in a full tight end premium if he's the number 2 option in Tennessee with Cam Ward. He could be a very nice, valuable piece. The biggest thing that is so crazy about a full point tight end premium is if a tight end goes 4 for 40, that's the same as getting a receiver that goes 6 for 60. It's literally the exact same points. And if he's the number 2 option, there's a chance he's going to do better than that. And so for me, he's a guy I think could jump up. Mason Taylor's a waste of a pick, but at least now maybe he's a flex. Maybe he's an opportunity. I kind of like that he took Crosby and Katron Allen trying to get the running back. The only problem for me is I truly think next offseason, if neither of these guys show too much, they're in position to take a early second round running back out of a loaded class. And so those 2 guys turn out to be worthless as 11th and 14th round picks. Now, everyone's like, that's 11th and 14th, who cares? But they really just turn into backups that you just double tapped. I don't like shitting on everyone's team. I do love that he kept his picks so he can plan for the future with all these QBs. It means next draft and the following draft, he doesn't have to take a single quarterback. So all those picks will be position players if he keeps doing the way he is and not making trades. So that part is nice. It's just, how early will he be? We talked about max points 4. You and I both know if he starts Burrow and Lawrence week 1, Nix or Mendoza at some point will all of a sudden, pop off for 28 points, and it counts towards max points 4. And so it's not going to help him in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, 4 QBs the first 5 rounds is tough to try and move out of it unless someone really needs a QB. You need to be trying to move those guys now. Or if you plan on just wait for a QB to get hurt, because it happens every year. And then you can trade a QB for the QB that was hurt plus, or for players. It's tough right after a startup to try and trade a QB away because everyone's already made plans at QB. Most teams have 2 or 3 QBs already. So they aren't absolutely hurting for a QB. Maybe someone goes down in camp, God forbid. But it's harder to trade QBs right after the startup because everyone's already made plans on it. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, because I would assume that he's going to make some moves. I believe he's been making trades, and Dad's 35 or 34. Kind of change it up a bit, but we'll get to those whenever we get to those. I put this as a win now team if things go right, but probably playing for 6 weeks into the season. Team strength, shocker, is QB. Weakness, I put in here, Lord help you, RB, because you're counting on the backup in RJ Harvey and then a David Montgomery or who else you want to try and throw in there. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Yes, it will.
Moving on, next one. Yard Goat. For his picks, he's in a few leagues. I think he's in two or 3 leagues. I think this is like his 2nd year in these leagues. He has his 27 first. He doesn't have his 27 second or third. He has his 4th. 28 and 29 picks are intact. QBs, he went super late to start off comparatively to the last guy. He went Cam Ward, Bryce Young, Jalen Milroe. RBs, Jordan Brooks, Marks, Sampson, Johnson, Gordon, Miller. Wide receivers is really where he went heavy in the first 5 rounds. He went Puka, Tet, Drake London, Roma Dunze, Mekhi Lemon. He's got Matthew Golden, who's going to be a future Hall of Famer. Bernard, Troy Franklin, Arroyo, Lane, Bond, Thornton. And tight ends, he went Sadiq, Stowers, Kittle, and Darnell Washington, new lowly paid left tackle for the Steelers. So yeah, I think I made a comment in the chat. It's like that's pretty cheap for a left tackle. So, but anyway, this team, favorite pick was Cam Ward. I am a believer in Cam Ward, especially you're adding in Carnell Tate this year. You're adding in Wandale. It's the second year in the league. I like his staff that he's got. To get him this late as your QB1, you are calling your shot that you think the same, that he's going to take that next step. Some of the throws that he made last year were absolutely disgusting. He's got a wild arm. You just didn't see a whole lot, either because you didn't watch the full game, or it wasn't a game that had any primetime uh, primetime games actually. So Cam Ward, he's someone that I believe in the talent. I would take him over Young, and so did he. Just kind of like in the same tier of where he's going. So Cam Ward, I think, is one of my favorite later round guys that I think that could gain in value after the season. And then the pick that I didn't like was Jeremy Bernard at 13.5. And it's not that, you know, I don't like the player. I just think like you have already hammered home so many wide receivers and you don't have really shit for backs. And like your first back was Jordan Brooks, and then you went and took Bernard. You know, Brooks could turn into something, but there's really no one else that you can lean on this year. I mean, taking Puka, Tet, Drake London, Rome, and Lemon, like why take another wide receiver that's going to be the third guy in his offense? I think you really could have went, with another back. Like Blake Corum went 2 picks later. I would have loved that pick. Having Blake Corum, I think that there's a lot of people out there that think that he could be the 1A, 1B to Kyron this year. That would give you a lot more points if you're trying to play for this year than Bernard. But what do you got?
I really like the way he started it, getting all these wide receivers. My biggest issue with the whole thing, just the whole build, is you gave away your second and third and didn't add picks while only taking youth this year and rookies. And so you kind of I guess strangling yourself a little bit, as in you don't have more flexibility. Now, yes, you have youth, but if all of a sudden your team turns to crap, you might have gotten a nice early first, but you didn't get the second and third and other opportunities and other players to do it with. Um, Let me see. Yes, that's what I thought. I did one of the players I did like, because you stuck to the youth, not talking about the picks, but the players, is Eli Stowers. I loved it, the 10. Let me make sure I got it. 10.08.
Yep.
Just for a rookie that's a first rounder and full tight end premium going that late. You're planning for next year. It's not a this year pick, but I think you could turn into a top 12 to 10 option with upside. Immediately after that, you took George Kittle, which just doesn't fit the bill for me. That one I don't understand. At the 11.5, if you thought it was value or whatever, I guess he's got a hit with the age and everything. The Achilles injury, I don't know if you're going to get too much more value for him. And if he plays this year and does great, maybe so. But if he has an okay year and then is a year older, I just don't think you're going to be able to trade much for him. And with the youth that you put together on this team, it didn't seem like a good pick to me. You don't have any running backs for this year, so you're not really competing. Puka, McMillan, Drake, Odunze, Lemon, Ward, Sadiq, Young, Golden, Stowers. I mean, you're just screaming, I'm not playing for this year, which is fine. I think it's actually a great idea. It's just some of the other picks and some of the running backs, I would have just stuck to the model and try to pick up future capital if this is where you wanted to go.
Yeah. Yep. Strength, I think it's pretty clear. A wide receiver. You start your first 5 picks with 5 guys that are, young and very, very talented. RB is definitely the weakness of this draft. Brooks could turn into something. I mean, he was a second round pick 2 years ago, so you're hoping to get something out of him. Um, but I'm not a huge fan of Marks or Sampson. I do like Johnson, but he's behind K9, so it would take a, a lot. Actually, not a lot because K9 can't really stay healthy either. But he could turn into something. But you're grasping for straws at RB2, and that's with maybe Brooks being the starter. So I had
What
this as a 1 year rebuild. Hopefully, you can find your way to add backs to this team going into next year. Maybe trade George Kittle for a second if he's looking all right. Through the season. A guy needs a tight end, and George is being George, and you can maybe get a second for him. Um, but yeah, I don't think this team's going to be pushing for the top 6 this year.
one thing we didn't bring up is he took T-Mac at the 205 ahead of ahead of Genty, Love, Jefferson, Achan, Hampton, Patrick Mahomes. This is the earliest I've ever seen T-Mac go in a startup. We didn't even discuss it, but to me, maybe that would have been my least favorite pick, because if you wanted to go youth, maybe take a running back there to kind of pair with everyone, whether you hate it or not. What if he took
Yeah.
Love there instead of T-Mac? Still has all these young wide receivers. It just felt like a reach to me. I
Yeah, I mean,
I think we need to
if
highlight it.
he could go
That's so
back,
early.
yeah, if he could go back and trade that for Genty or Love, and then his team looks a little bit more filled out going into the next year, where he's not so put into a spot where he's got to take a back next year, or he's got to trade for a back. You already have one that's great, and you're hoping that Brooks hits, and then maybe take a back next year as well. But you're not forced into it. But yeah, I would take Drake over T-Mac, and he got both, and they were round apart. So
Yeah, and he
crazy.
traded picks to make that move.
Yeah, which is a solid pick, because Drake usually goes back into the second, which it wasn't that much of a fall for Drake London. I mean, I'm taking him probably around HN
Yeah.
Hampton range for right here. So all right, moving on to the next one. This is his first startup with us. She traded a lot in the startup comparatively to the last two. He has his 27 first for next year. He's got a 27 second that's not his own. He's got his own third. He's got an extra third. He's got his fourth, and all other picks are intact for him. QBs: Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, Brissett, Sanders, A. Rich, and Joe Milton, my highest roster player in Dynasty. um,
I don't know if that's a
uh,
positive or negative.
I mean, at some point he's gonna play a game, at some point. Backs are James Cook, Josh Jacobs, Swift, Charbonnet, Gainwell, and Tucker. Wide receivers, he has Lamb, Olave, Watson, Wandale, Evans, Antonio Williams, Chris Godwin, Keon Coleman, Wicks, and Brendan Thompson. Tight ends, he has Trey McBride and your boy Jatavian Sanders, who I think you started to fall out of love with. But he moved around quite a bit. He took advantage of the tight end premium and took Trey McBride in the first over Bowers. My favorite pick from him, I think it's not crazy to say, is Christian Watson, just because I can't not do it. To take him after Pierce is just a fucking steal. But
I just hate that,
like
I put Watson first and then you still had to go with it. I was trying to
I
make it
did.
so you wouldn't have to talk about him over and over. And I literally put him
Yeah.
on the show doc first and you still said I had to talk about him. All right,
Yep.
continue.
And I will let you talk about him again, just so I can hear what you got to say about it. But I don't want to take that fully away from you, but I had to throw him in there. Sorry. picks I hate, I put none because this is a draft that I really liked. I think he filled out his team pretty well. I didn't see any egregious, picks that was way above ADP or picks that didn't really fit his team. I mean, he filled it out pretty well. By round 10, you knew that this was going to be a team that it was going to be filled out. We looked at the last two and we have a lot of questions. Like he had a plan with each pick. It wasn't just, oh, I like this player, I'm going to take it. Like he went tight end and then wide receiver, back, QB. So he's already got all of his positions drafted by the that fourth round. He's got one of each, so it gave him the option to go wherever he wanted to as far as value for the rest of the draft. Um, no, how about you talk about Christian Watson?
Yeah. So, I mean, I put him as my favorite, but I'm not going to bring him up again. I
Oh,
just
come on.
think as the wide receiver 3 on his team, he could easily pop off and be the wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers, and it's someone I've liked a lot as much as he's your homeboy. I like him in fantasy. I think he's going too late. I'm going to switch gears then and say my favorite pick was a wide receiver even later, and that was Godwin at the 15.2. And that's because looking at his team and seeing he made a lot of trades, a lot of movement. I know he has his first, someone else's second, his own third and fourth. But this team feels very close to a win now if you can find a QB2 to start early. If Brissett turns in the starter while Daniel Jones is hurt, great. I think it could easily be a winning now team, with the 3 wide receivers, and then Godwin will definitely fill in a flex. Um, McBride falling that far is great, and full 1 point tight end premium. He's a true advantage. Um, I didn't like that he has no depth at tight end. That could be something you'll have to fill in later, but getting the stud right away is definitely nice. Truly, this is a win now. My least favorite is Daniel Jones as a QB2. I just don't know if he starts week 1. And if he goes on the pup or still doesn't look good or has issues with the injury, you need someone to fill in. I do like that he has Anthony Richardson as maybe the backup, or is it Riley Leonard? We don't know. Um, Neither of these guys are that inspiring. If Brissett turns into the starter, I know he showed up to camp now. Back then, he was holding out. Can he find a QB2 to stick in here? And if so, this team will compete right away. Cook, Jacobs, and Swift should be an easy top 3 to rotate, as well as maybe using one in the flex. Having those 3 starting Lamb, Olave, Watson, and either Wandale, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, I think are great. The more I talk about it, the more I see that this is a win now team. The Antonio Williams pick is probably useless, so maybe that's not as high. Maybe you should have taken another position, maybe another flyer on a quarterback, etc. At that
Or
point, it
tight
was still
end.
pretty late, but it's kind of whatever. Maybe another running back. Who knows? I can't question too much. But the way he built this team, still having his 27 first, still having his 28th first, is very nice, and it's fun, and it's another good player to have in these Dynasty Dads leagues.
Alrighty. The Joker, he's been around for a while. I think his earliest leagues like Dad's 5, so he's been here for quite some time. Looks like he only made maybe 1 or 2 trades. His picks that he's still got his 27 first, second. He did, he doesn't have his third, but he's got Miles third. He's got a 27 fourth, and then the rest of the picks are intact. Starting off at QB, he's got Caleb Williams, he's got Geno Smith, he's got JJ McCarthy, Taylor Green, and Trey Lance. What a room. Backs, Chase Brown, Jadarian Price, Jalen Warren, Aaron Jones, Keaton Mitchell, and then I can't ever fucking say his name right.
Heidenreich.
Yep, that one. Wide receivers, you got St. Brown, Tate, Pickens, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Xavier Worthy, Josh Downs, Ayuk, Horton, Beck, Bryce Lance, he's got both Lances, and Deion Burks. Tight end, Kincaid, Max Clare, Evan Ingram. Uh, Picks I loved was Devonta Smith. Not that even if this was post AJ Brown trade, like I still love this pick, even if he was around sooner. I think he's easily going to be the one for that team. He's going to get most of the targets for that team, and for him to be your wide receiver 4, I think is great. I mean, that's a great value for him. At that pick, the pick that I didn't like, me and you had the same one, so I will let you take this one this time since I stole your pick again.
All right, fair, fair. So my favorite pick of this group, I decided to jump up a little bit just because in a lot of startups I see him going earlier, and I'm going to take George Pickens at the 410. It just feels later than he's usually been going, and if you see him going behind Odunze and Burden at this point after what he's already shown on the field last year, it felt like a good value. Um, Whether you think Tate's a reach at the 3-3, which is probably the case, the idea that you got Pickens behind him and a bunch of receivers, I think is good depth and good pieces. If you asked me my least favorite pick, I'll actually kind of change gears. And I'm just going to say the idea that you kept taking receivers in the early rounds, at some point, I wish you went a different direction. You know, the idea that you got Brown, Tate, Pickens, Devontae Smith, and Jordan Addison, that's how many you could start. And then in the 11th and 12th, you took 2 more receivers. You're kind of locking yourself in. And then if you keep going down the board, you took more and more receivers. I know they're nice to have. They can be great. They usually can hit your lineup in a best ball format, but you got to lock these guys in your lineup. And I know, and you know, Gus, a lot of these guys later on, if you have a depth in a very good deep room, if they don't hit, it's hard to trade some of these guys for true value. You know, how many people are really trading for wide receiver 3s at, you know, fair and good prices? And I just don't see it much. So I would say that my least favorite pick is that you hammered wide receivers where I wish you took other opportunities.
Yeah, like tight ends or backs, because those are pretty thin on this team. Not to say that Aaron Jones and Warren aren't going to be solid RB 3 and 4 for you. The pick that we both had that we didn't like was Price at the 610, and I mean, my main reason was because Scatterboo was still available. I think that Scatterboo and Chase Brown would have been a nasty duo for this year. Not that Price can't be good for fantasy. I just don't think he's got the same ceiling as Scatterboo does for this year. And this isn't particularly an old team. I mean, it's a pretty young team, so maybe you're just know, trying to try to get some extra youth down at the very bottom because I mean you took Tate and you took Price, two first round rookies in the top 6 picks. So when you do that, most of the time it's hard to compete soon. Because it takes time for them to hit the field and really do a lot for fantasy. Not everyone's a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or Bijan and Gibbs. Even they took some time as well. But Price, I think he's going to be good this year. I would just rather had Scat for the ceiling. I really like Scat, probably too much, but
I think so. Scat, Price, Scat, whether you like Bucky or not, but it's also Josh Jacobs fell too. So there are a couple. If you wanted a running back, I just felt there were a couple of options.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Team strength is wide receiver. I think that's been pretty obvious. Team weakness, tight end, just because you don't have that many. You have Kincaid, who's struggled to stay on the field, and your next option is the tight end 2 for the Broncos, Evan Ingram, because we all know that Justin Jolie is going to be the starter, right? Right. And then
Yeah. Right.
Max Clare, who's the tight end 3 or 4 on his own team. So a little bit thin there. I do think this is a win now team, even as young as it is. I think you can compete. I wouldn't say a top 4 team, but it's probably hovering around that 6-ish range.
Yeah,
CJ.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's that good, but yeah. You're relying on Geno Smith with no third quarterback. What if he gets benched in week 8, you know? You're kinda holding the bag.
Just a little bit. CJ, he likes to make trades, if you can't tell. He has 227 firsts. He has his own, and then Kilrow, he has his first. He has his own second, third. He has the Joker's third for 27. All other picks are intact. QB, Tyler Shuck and Malik Willis, James Winston and Tyson Bagent. Backs, he's got Jeremiah Love. He's got Kyle Monangai, Coleman, Rashad White, Algier. He's got Allen, wide receivers, Neighbors, Rice. So he has no wide receivers to start the year. Maybe. I don't know if Rice is going to play or not. He probably will. I probably shouldn't talk too much shit about Rice. Uh, and then he's got Parker, Washington, Dobbs, Boston, Chris Bell, Shaheed, Kyle Williams, AD Mitchell, Royals, tight ends. He's got Warren, Kraft, Reardon, Mayer, and that's it. So pretty spread out through his draft. My favorite pick, and it was yours as well. How about you? You take this Packer
Oh, man. Why do I keep choosing Packers? Golly. The
because
idea
they're
that
so good.
it's more that in full tight end premium, the idea that Tucker Kraft fell to the 502 is, stealing, right? I know you had Tyler Warren, but the idea you're able to get another very good, very serviceable, probably number one target on his team at tight end is kind of crazy to think about. So I love that he got him at the 502. Um, this team is clearly, the more you look at it, the more you're realizing is playing for the future. As much as I love Jeremiah Love, I don't think this year is going to be. This might be his worst year in the next 7, right? But taking him, I'm not relying on it. Neighbors probably starts on the pup. So you're planning for the future. So the idea that you got an extra 27 first could be my favorite pick, right? Based on the plan. The only thing from there is I like Shuck. I like Willis. You're really planning for the future. You're hoping Willis's situation gets better. There are a couple picks that went on later in the draft that I don't really think match up with what you're trying to do. You know, Parker Washington's one of them. I understand that he got the opportunity, but you're hearing that team wants to pay him, but are they going to pay him after they just paid Myers and let BTJ walk and then not pay Hunter and then other options? And so I don't know if he truly gets paid or that's really where they're going. So my least favorite pick, I just felt it was early based on where other players went, was Parker Washington. Not long after it, we talked about Omar Cooper, but Terry McLaurin, but you're not playing for now, so not him. But maybe Michael Wilson, I think I would have liked a little more. Um, who else is in that list? I'd probably, if
Hunter.
you wanted, huh? Yeah, no. If you wanted to slam another tight end and just say, "Hey, I'm doubling down on this position," maybe like that more. I just felt it was a little early, and I think Parker Washington is more of a this year darling than he is a future play. It's hard to nitpick, but the idea you got an extra first is really what I love. And I love that Kraft fell as a true value in a full tight end premium.
Yeah. Pick that I hate. I feel like it's every single draft that we do now. It's Rice at the 411. This pick was made before all that news came out, so he probably would have fell maybe another round or two, if not more. But it's just something that I keep saying. Like, I don't want the volatility of his off the field issues to affect my team. When he's playing, he's great for the Chiefs, and the fact that they've come out and say that they aren't talking about a contract extension. It doesn't bode well for him because I think he's a very scheme dependent player, and I don't think he's going to have the same type of success on the field with another team. So 411, like I would rather had George Pickens. Well, he went to pick before, but like Olave, um, Tyson Lemon, Purdy, as your QB1, or take like Judkins or Mendoza. Like we could go down the list, but it's just he's a hard player to try and roster and have right at this moment.
Oh, well, and if this team is for planning for the future, is Rice really perfect for this team? Right?
Yeah,
Because his best year might be this year. I'm assuming he plays all the weeks. It just doesn't seem like they're suspending him, but it doesn't also seem like Kansas City wants to pay him with all the headaches and all the off the field issues. So if they're not going to pay him, his situation only gets worse. And who knows if he plays next year, right? So uh, it just doesn't quite. I know it's early, and once you make some of those picks, it's hard to tell if you're playing for the now or for the future. But Rice, even though he's young, feels like a truly this year play.
yeah. The strengths of this team, pretty pretty certain is tight end with Warren and Kraft. Having those two guys for the long term is great, especially in this format. Team weakness, I did go with QB and RB depth. He does have Love in QBs. They're not set in stone. They are down this low for a reason, is because they have question marks long term. I know Shuck is pretty high right now. I just saw him go for first round pick and a startup, basically. But Willis, it could be a one and done year. It could be, the wheels fall off and it's bad for him, and it's hard for him to get another job after this as a guy that is worthy of, the pick where you took him in the eighth. He could plummet back down. But I think this is a pretty good team to build into the future, and the fact that he's got the extra picks is nice. All
Um,
right.
quickly, you talked about Willis. What is your thought? If Miami gets the 101, do they ride Willis or are they looking at a QB?
You have to take QB at that point. You have to take a QB because you were obviously that fucking bad. You were obviously the worst team in the league, and it didn't work out for Willis.
What you
Was
haven't
it his fault? It doesn't matter. He's the sacrificial lamb at this point. There's no way that you can pass up on a top QB.
well, especially if you fall in love with Arch or one of those guys. Because I keep seeing in mocks that Miami might finish third, and if they finish third, then they go Jeremiah Smith. And part of my issue with that idea is you're writing Willis again, but if he has an okay year and you go 6-11, you got to then pay him 50 million, or you're looking at another rookie, and you're gonna have to trade up multiple picks to get there. So I'm part of the reason I'm kind of avoiding Willis is purely that I just feel he's a guy that might only have 1 year on him. And
Yeah.
Miami has tried, like, they're a team that is making the tankathon that Arizona's doing look like they're not trying hard enough. Like, that's how
Yeah.
good Miami's doing this. So,
All right. Our last team, Old Greg. Um, Old Greg. Old Greg. All right. He's got no 27 picks. He doesn't have his 28 first. He's got an extra 28 fourth, and all of his 29 picks are intact. QBs are Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Ty Simpson, Mac Jones, Carson Beck, Sean Watson, Tyler Huntley. RBs are Gibbs, Bucky, J.K. Dobbins, Braylon Allen. I keep forgetting his name. Taylor. Didn't he
Jamari
call it
Taylor.
quits? Jamari Taylor, yep. Wide receiver, Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, Jaden Reed, Zachariah Branch, Malachi Fields, Tyreek Hill, Malik Washington, Kevin Coleman, tight ends, Brock Bowers, Kelsey, Jawan Johnson. Uh, Pick I loved was J.K. Dobbins. I do think that he's the starter and will get most of the work. Whether or not he can stay on the field or not, that's another story. But I would prefer him at cost over R.J. Harvey. I believe Dobbins got a two year contract to come back and play, and the offense is going to run through him for most of the ground game. Um, I really like that you can get that in the 14th round as your RB3. So the pick that I didn't like, was D DJ Moore at the 7:10. Um, Not that, he's not a good player, it's just it hasn't looked good in quite some time. And, people are thinking that he's gonna have a brand new start to his career with Josh Allen. I mean, he's not particularly old, I think he's like 27, so he's still fairly young. Um, but he's your wide receiver 3. I would have rather had another wide receiver. There's not a whole lot that went after him, but gonna say his name again, Christian Watson. I would have rather have him over DJ Moore, and he went a full round later. Um, I feel like you could have maybe taken, another back in this range, like Derrick Henry just went, or Javante right after, because you're staring at Gibbs, great, but Bucky, there's a lot of question marks about. To shore that up, you could have taken another back. It's just I and I don't love that he's your 3. Um, I I just don't see him being someone that I'm gonna feel confident starting every single week, especially when they have Keon Coleman, they have Shakir, Dalton Cade, and Josh Allen spreads the ball out more than most QBs in the league. So I don't see any real type of volume for Moore to be a solid week to week starter.
Yeah, which is fair. The biggest thing, and I know he's another Packer, is having more, I think, is fine. It feels a little early. The idea that Reed is your wide receiver 4, and then you took 2 rookies later on that you won't know is kind of where do you fill in flex and those guys? But I like some of what he did. Bucky's been falling like a rock. Getting him at 7-1 still feels fine and pretty good value because he should be the starter as soon as he's healthy. Getting Dobbins to replace Bucky if he doesn't play week 1 or 2, I think is kind of worked out well, right? Because he's probably going to be the guy. We're not sure if Dobbins does split more, and he might, but getting him there is very nice. Looking at it, my favorite pick was Juwan Johnson at the 13-1. Is just, I feel last year we saw it, and this year he's probably one of the top 3 options for the Saints who will have to score more points because the defense is worse. And he's still a guy that Shuck felt comfortable with down the stretch last year. So he might even be the number 2 option. So I really like that. Is it a future play? No, but for this year, I think it's great. And then the thing I dislike the most, you took 4 quarterbacks in the first 9 rounds, including the 901, 2 of which are Stafford with Simpson. So you've taken a lot of draft capital on quarterbacks early. And now I like the idea of pairing Stafford with Simpson because you put Simpson on the taxi squad, etc. But if you're going for it and you get rid of your future first, it's kind of an extra wasted pick on a third QB in that situation. And then after that, you went along and took 1, 2, 3, 4 extra quarterbacks, or is it 5 even? Was there one further down? I'm trying to see. You took 4 dart throw quarterbacks. So you're kind of QB hoarding with a lot of backup QBs, and it's just, for me, yes, QBs get injured and they have been, and guys starting, but are any of these guys you really want to be starting? Or are you hoping you can trade them later? It's just, I've noticed in a lot of leagues, those QBs, when they become starters, don't go for much. It's like if Carson Beck starts for 4 weeks because the team sucks, do you actually get anything from it? Like, can you say, "Oh, sweet, I get a future third"? Like, no one's giving you a second for Carson Beck. Like, it doesn't matter if he's named the starter. I just don't see it happening. Deshaun Watson is the starter, but does he have any value? Not really. So I wasn't happy with the. I didn't like the way the makeup of the team was built after some great trades and some great options. Just too many QBs for me. Where I would have preferred some more running back depth and opportunities because injuries happen.
Yeah. Um, Team strength, I think it's QB just because you have so many of them, and tight ends. Just because you have Bowers and Kelsey and Jawan Johnson, you're set for at least this year. Next year, it could get a little hairy with just having Bowers. Um, and team weakness, wide receiver and or RB depth, and then also not having picks is a bit of an issue. But you got anything else on this team?
No, it's definitely a win now team because when you give up your
Oh yeah,
first, you got to be playing now. If Bucky turns it around or Dobbins is what he was to begin last year, you're in great shape. If not, you're hoping the tight ends can be good flexes like Kelsey and Dewan Johnson, and that Dobbins can. You're hoping you find a running back too. Otherwise, you'll be striving for that. Where Jackson, Purdy, Stafford are great. Y- They seem like the perfect guys. You're not sure which week to start which one at points. Lamar's probably always in there. You might want to start Purdy every week, but I could see it at points. You're like, man, should I start Stafford instead of Purdy, or Lamar starts cold or something? Where do you go?
yeah. All right. Did you rank them by chance?
I did
Did you?
not. I always that's the one thing I let you do. I like it, hearing your rankings, your opinions. I know you do it.
Oh,
Part of the problem is I'm in this league, and I don't want to. I didn't want to dig in and do it because some of that could influence my opinions on it of how awesome I think I am. Same way you love Christian Watson anytime you hear his name. Do you have a Christian Watson tattoo yet?
no, I don't, but I do have his jersey behind me. So
That is
where's it?
very,
Yeah,
very
it's
disappointing. Just want to let you know.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Maybe here in the near future, once he is a top 12 guy this year, then
Okay, there you go.
maybe. Let's say no. If he's a top 12 guy this year, I'll get a Christian Watson tattoo. So
There you go. You heard it here first. June 10th.
anyway, all right. Well, I guess I'll do my rankings. This is just the order of teams that I would prefer if I were to take over a team in this league. Don't don't take it to heart. It doesn't mean that you're terrible. It probably means I'm dumb. Don't take it to heart. But uh do you want me to go 12-1 or 1 to
Oh, you
12?
gotta go 12-1 and pull it back up on the screen too, so you can kind of highlight the team and be like, this is who I like, or this is the 12th ranked team, etc.
All right, all right. Let me get it back up here. 12. Uh no shocker here. Double tap. I kind of gave you the heads up before the draft. I really think you hold yourself back by not making moves during the draft, and then also going the four QBs in the first 5 rounds. It really hurts your overall depth, especially since we start 10 players in here, and your first four that you pick are QBs, and you can only start two of them. Let's go to 11. CJ, um, I like I like the Packers. Uh, well, the Packer in craft, but I'm not in love with your QBs or your backs long term, and then your wide receivers are scary as hell, especially the first two that you took. Um, but yeah, number 10. Let's just go right next door. Old Greg. Um, I love your QBs, the complete opposite of the last one, but your wide receivers and backs leave a little bit to be desired. And the fact that you don't have picks for the next 2 years is a big concern. Yes, you do have your 28, second, third, and fourth, but not having your next two first round picks is a bit scary to start off. Not to say that you didn't get good value for them, but this is not the build that I would go with. Number 9, Yard Goat. Um, Kind of going back to the other one, not making a whole lot of moves, and the move that you did make, it didn't net you a whole lot. Not having an early QB, but having one that I believe in is all right. But Bryce Young as your two, and then nothing else is pretty scary. Let me look. What was your picks?
Doesn't have a second and third, if I remember correctly.
Does not have his second and third. He's got all of his firsts. Um, the tight end room, I do like long term. I think you can get rid of Kittle this year for a second, and Sadiq and Stowers. Hopefully, one of those hits over the next few years, but not having any backs is scary. Let's go number 8. go Miles. I can't pick his team, so I'll just click off. It is very old, but if you want to win now, this is the great way to do it. If I walked into a league with two free years and this was the team, I would try and win it the first 2 years and then tear it down. But this is not how I would build. I'm fine with the first two picks. The next six is where I've got the problem with. Miles, do better, and other people drafting your teams. Seven, Kilrow. I did like this team. What was your picks like? I'm trying to remember. I think you traded away your first.
Gave up his first because that's how CJ has an extra, I believe. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. He doesn't have his first for this year. Um, I do like the start, the first four. Actually like, your first six, well, five-ish picks. Um, and then not I guess tight end is where it scares me the most. I've been someone that's not talked highly of Sam Laporta and the fact that you're staring down Greg Dulcich and Mike Gesicki. Not a fan of the Cooper pick, and then outside of your first two backs, I'm not thrilled for this year. And then also not having your first is a big part of that. But now we're into the top six. So I'm gonna go where you go. The Joker is gonna be six. Like this team a lot for as little as you moved, partially because of your wide receiver core. I like having it St. Brown, Tate, Pickens, Smith, Jordan Addison, whatever you feel about Worthy, Downs. I do like uh, Brown. Price, I do like as a player, but I, I would rather had Scat. That's my one gripe. If you took Scat, you're probably up another slot or two. Caleb, I think is a good QB for fantasy. Hopefully, he can get more accurate and have a higher finish going forward. He's super super talented and surrounded by players that we all want. So hopefully, he can support those. Outside of that, hopefully Gino gets back to old Gino. I know you love him.
Yeah.
Anyway, go
I'm
ahead.
just a little surprised you have him sixth. I guess this is one of the teams I was worried about, and it's mainly because of there's no real tight end, and the QB2 is very questionable. And I think you have all your picks, but
He
you
does.
have a lot of needs, especially after this year. Like, let's say Gino's not the starter, you need a QB, and you might not have a tight end that's usable.
Yeah, for me, it was really the wide receiver room, and then also having Caleb as
Caleb.
well. I think that's a really
Okay.
good
Fair.
first, you know, 6, 7, 8 picks is a good start for not making a whole lot of trades and going straight down the board. Getting into the top five here, the newcomer. I like this team. I think it was solid pretty much through and through. You have a great wide receiver room, especially the first three. However you feel about Hunter, I know Colin loves him. Uh, it's hard to go wrong with Chase and May in the first, and then still being able to fill out a roster with a decent tight end and two good backs in your starting lineup. I don't think he traded away a first.
Yeah, he did. He gave both of them to me. His first and
Both
second, he did.
first to you.
Not both. I think he might have 28, but I know I have his first for 27. First and second.
He's. Are you sure about that? I'm staring at a 27 first.
Uh, I don't know how did I give it away?
You might have gave it back to him.
I don't think that's possible. That should not be the case.
Let me just go look straight at his roster.
Might be easier.
Where's he at? Where's he at?
No, he doesn't have them. Did I just look at that right?
No, he does not. He does not.
Yeah, I
He
got.
doesn't have his first or second. Okay, yeah. I just had it backwards.
Yeah,
Okay, but this is still a team that I like.
yeah,
May, Chase, and then the stack with Brown. Were I mean these three picks right here were I think some of my favorite. I mean, I still think Chase is the wide receiver one in Dynasty. So, for another newcomer. This one was hard not to put higher. Um, with the core that he's got outside of QB, yes, he has Dak, but McBride, Lamb, Olave, Cook, Jacobs, Watson, Swift, Wandale. Do still think Jones can get back to where he was this past year. It just might take a little bit, but this was a team that I did like. What was his pick situation? You should be on this. Unbelievable.
I'll keep looking up the picks. Sure, we'll go from there.
He's got his 27 first, second. He's got Old Greg second. He's got 2/3. So he's got still got all his picks even after all these trades.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't fuck up the picks. That would be
No,
hilarious.
I think it's right. I just think in your head it might be wrong,
Yeah.
but on the sheet
Yep.
it looks like it's right. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, it's right. Right. So this was what? This
4, I believe.
was 4. All right. Now top 3. Baby Alex. I know I've talked shit on you before about your teams. I think you're getting better at startups, at least in the way that I would like to see them done is the way you build your team. Not so much about the first 2 picks, but it's hard to go wrong with Bijan and Genty. You won't ever really see me take all of these high, but when it's these 2 guys, and then you still get Hurts, Love, and Stroud, when I typically go with the QBs up high. You still got 3 good QBs and then 3 good backs, and then I still love Egbuka, Marv, and QJ. Um, good luck at tight end on knowing who to start, but I do like this team. And what was his
Had
picks?
all of them. Didn't trade any picks away.
Sweet, perfect. You control your own fate. 2 was you. Uh, I love the fact that you can get all those picks. It really sets you up for the future. And if I were to take over your team, then it gives me all the flexibility in the world to do whatever I want with them, either trade them away and play now or just hold them and play for the future. So that is always big, which leaves another newcomer as the top team that
6.
I'd want.
Yep, right there, huh?
Yep, this is the one. Dart, Mayfield, the duo between Penix and Tua as your QB3. Just the fact that there was so much youth on this team is something that's very attractive when you're going to take over a startup. It's hard to like if I was staring down, a team that was full of old guys, but probably wins this year versus a team that had a lot of youth and value. I would rather pick the team that had a lot of youth and value versus trying to win now and then be absolute dog shit for 3 years after. He does have his 27 first. He has someone else's second, 2 fourths, and then the rest is all good. This was my favorite team because he's got scat. Probably that has a lot to do with it, but I
Yeah.
feel like you did really well the first 10 rounds of your startup trying to fill out your team. You got 2 backs, 4 receivers. Um, not so much in love with this pick, but you got a better tight end there. And then you got a really good tight end that I think can do a lot. And you got the stack with Dart as well. So you're bought in on the Giants, Dart, Scat, and likely. So hopefully that goes well. But this is a really good start to a startup, and then you just hammered home value and depth to end it out. I like the Corum pick at the 13-7. That should have been my favorite pick, but you took Scat, so I had to pick between the 2. So all
Yeah.
right, those are my top 12. Did anything shock you?
Um, Not at all. Mine has so much flexibility. I understand it being very high, and if someone's going to take them on, because you could either start trading all the picks for players or go the other way. Um, I understand this being the one. I don't necessarily think it's truly competing now. What I will say on the whole is I felt a lot of people did good job drafting and
Yeah,
choosing. The
It
only
was
one,
very hard to rank. It was
yeah,
very hard. Like
yes.
I pushed people top to bottom all over. Like it was tough to rank. It took me about
The
2 days.
the only one that truly to me felt forced was Double Tap, and that's just because of the 4 QBs in the first 5 rounds. Other
Yeah,
than that, it's kinda hard to rank, you know? You have some player takes, there's some builds that are a little different, but so many I feel 9 of these teams are competing, you know?
yeah.
There's a lot of competitive teams. I'm not, Double Tap's not, and maybe one of the others that had a lot of youth with some very questionable things, but truly, it's gonna be a fun league to watch to see who comes out of it and who has older guys that don't look like they're making the playoffs, and how do they adjust?
Yeah, just to go over it again, 12 was Double Tap, 11 was CJ, 10 was Old Greg, 9 was Yard Goat, 8 was Miles, 7 was Kilrow, 6 was the Joker, 5 was CMR Topper, however you want to say it. I'm sure he'll tell me in the chat. 4 was Smutkin. I can't get it. I don't
Smutkin,
know what it is. Smuckus. I don't know. 3 was Bebe Alex, 2 was you, and 1 was Columbus.
like
But
it.
yeah. All
No, I
right.
think a good episode, my friend.
Yeah. I believe I did the dad advice on the last episode. That was right when we got back from the road trip. So how about this one's on you?
Sounds good. The dad advice I wanna give all new dads is kids develop and get interested in things their dads and moms enjoy or love at different points. You know, you and I are sports fans. At first, my son had no interest, only cared about maybe Cars movie and some other things. Right now, he is loving basketball. He is loving playing t-ball. He is loving throwing everything as hard as he can at the wall. And so it's exciting to see that interest in sports kind of starting to thrive and the competitive nature, even though he's only 4. And my dad advice is don't either worry or be too pushy or anything. When they're young, just enjoy how they develop and what they like. And so enjoy it. Don't be pushy, don't be forceful. I know for me, the last years on Sundays, I still watch NFL and he's nowhere around. But don't think you have to force it because in time, they'll either come to love it or you'll find something else to bond with.
Yeah, unless your dad is I mean unless you're Chris McCaffrey and your dad pretty much raised you from the very beginning to be an athlete. My kids are not going to be an athlete. I played sports, but I don't see them being a Chris McCaffrey. So like if they want to play sports, my son is taking up uh karate. So he's 4 now, so he's trying it out. He goes once or twice a week, and my daughter gets pissed because she's too young and she can't go. And so every time that he's going, she gets pissed. But like she's got her own thing, he's got his own thing. Whatever they want to do, just support them as long as it's not like drugs and
Yep.
drinking and shit like that. I was like, yeah, they love to do stuff that their parents do, and the first thing that came to mind is like, except like don't like drink and smoke and do drugs in front
Right.
of them. It's probably one to avoid. But that's not always
Especially
the
early
case.
on.
But yeah, maybe later, but like
Yeah,
not
right.
early, not early. Alrighty. Well, until next week. We are doing a shitload of startups. We have 2 going right now, and as soon as these 2 are done, I'm gonna fire up 2 more, try to hammer out some before the season gets close, and then we're going to be doing some of the chopped leagues. Probably add another 2 chopped leagues. Those were probably the funnest leagues last year because every week was dire. It was do or death. Every single week, it was fun. So I'll probably add a couple more of those. And if you want to get into one of those or startup, you can either send me a DM or you can get on the Discord. The links get posted to the Discord first, and then if I need to try and fill leagues, then I'll reach out to other leagues or the classifieds on Sleeper is where a lot of these guys are coming from. Just more and more new blood into this crazy thing that we've created. We're up to 35 leagues now, and going to keep adding more and more every single year. So,
Great.
all right, I think
All right,
think
my
that
friend.
does it, Colin.
Have
See
a
you next
good
week.
one. See you next week. Bye bye.